everybody, hopefully your mic is working.
You're good.
Huh? We're good?
Are all your red buttons?
The red buttons are up. Your mic should be working. Fortunately, we don't have anybody on the phone today. That'll be good. So, okay. Roll call, members, Nancy Olson, Bob Geppert, Ron DePonte, John Grega, Bill Measy, Nancy Hall, and Jan Bierce are all here, the full group. Roll call, members. Hopefully no one has your cellular device turned on. Okay. I noticed this new agenda, I don't know how this happened, says approval of the August 10th, 2017 minutes, but the draft agenda said approval of the September 25th, 2017. I think we already approved the August 10th minutes. I noticed this new agenda. Yes, I believe we did at the last meeting, and we do not have, you'll have to check in those minutes, we don't have the September 25th, that was the special meeting, we don't have those minutes. I found out there was a mix-up on the minute situation. Apparently the woman who does our minutes didn't know that September 25th meeting had occurred. And so now, between Diane and Allison Roos, the lady who does the minutes, and myself, we've now come up with a system where she will know if there are any meetings, when the meetings occur, so that she can work on the minutes, because I just found out a couple of days ago she hadn't done a thing on it. So we'll have to put the approval of those minutes off until the next meeting. So we'll do the financials update. Nancy, anything particular?
No, I know our concern right now is how much money we have available. So when you look at our total expenditures for this year to date through August 31st, we're $146,000 below our budget for the year. So we're in pretty good shape to cover any storm damage. But I had talked to Sarah this morning, and we have to find out about our water bill.
Yeah, yes, if you would, Sarah, please come up and introduce yourself.
We had a $6,000 water bill this year for August.
Sarah Mabry with Castle Group. Yes, I did investigate it. So the August bill we received late September. And our normal, this is for the fountains at Colonial and Treeline. City metered water runs the fountains. Our normal consumption is about 12 to 14,000 gallons a month. And the bill was for 354,000 gallons. So there is a leak of some sort, a break because the fountains didn't lose pressure, they didn't change, they weren't serviced, there was nothing in the fountains visually that we would have seen until we received this bill. Called the city says they sent us a letter, not received. So we have a plumber coming out to find out, because it's from the meter into the fountain, it's not from the meter out, which would be the city's problem then.
Turn them off?
Yes, we turn them off. Yeah, we'll turn them off. We're gonna have a plumber fix it, and then we can submit to the city for consideration, they said, but I've done it several times and we've been reimbursed at least a percentage, where once we show them the repair has been done, they'll reimburse a percentage, because obviously they go off of what your usage is, average for 6 months, and then they'll compare it, and it'll be obvious if there's a break. So I imagine we'll be seeing most of that back. But I won't have that information until we submit, and then they take some usually 30 days to respond.
Okay. Good.
How much was the bill, dollar-wise?
$6,450.02.
And it's normally about $60 a
About
month?
70 a month.
Yeah.
A little out
Would
of
have gotten
line.
somebody's attention.
Well, 350,000 gallons versus 12,000, yes. So
Where would the water go?
That's the
Well, it should be,
$64,000 question.
somebody should see it, right?
$364,000 question.
It must be deep underground, and just have been pulling, and with the hurricane and everything, I mean, and all the flooding, I don't know that anybody would have even noticed any difference, but like I said, visually, there was no report that we were still getting service regularly.
300.
The fountains were.
For which month was this?
This was for August.
Okay, the hurricane was September.
Right. It's still occurring. Our September bill shows 76,000 consumption, but it was shut off for a period of time. So the leak is still present, it's just, but we didn't get the bill till late September. But what I'm saying is, if there was things to be seen, we had that flooding event in August, and then we had the hurricane in September. So with all the rain, I don't know that,
Actually, this bill was due August 24th, so we should have got this bill in August.
we did, the bill, well, the bill was for 7/20 through 8/24.
No, this one,
So
let me see.
I have it here.
The due date on this one shows 8/24.
We did, the bill.
Is that the $6,000?
This is the $6,000 bill
7/20 through 8/10, so we would've got it in, beginning of
in
September.
August.
The utilities are set up on auto pay, so they don't send bills anymore. What happens is it'll just pay it, and then our accounting department said, whoa, 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 and then they got the bill for us.
All right, thank you, Sarah.
Yes.
Nancy?
The only other thing I want to comment is that I did make a copy of our balance sheet, so that everybody can see we do have over 3 million sitting there in funds that we're able to cover any expenses we have. If you look at the very bottom, the Pelican reserve is the second column, and if you look towards the bottom of the page, it shows unassigned funds, we have over 3 million, and then almost 1 million in capital fund. So we're in pretty good shape.
So in addition to the 3.4 million, there's another million?
Right above it, you'll see that there's a capital account.
So it's
That's
both
what-
those numbers.
That's, we've already moved that amount to the capital
To the
account
capital.
officially.
And there's still the 3.4 or 8 million in addition to that. So we're gonna be fine to cover our expenses. But related to that, I had a question I wanted to ask probably Sarah, and I did bring it up with her this morning. It's about plant replacement, because I've gotten a couple of questions, and I got an email from somebody that's concerned about the plants that we're replacing things with, and they talked about some viburnums that were replaced earlier this year with arbicolas, and deer ate them, and they look horrible now. And their question is, who gets to choose what plants we're going to replace these? We're gonna have a lot of plants to replace in the next few months, and who's gonna make that decision as to what's going in to replace these things?
Sarah, do you want to come up to the podium again?
Aren't you glad you're here this week?
I am.
Get your exercise up.
Well, I can help, I'm getting my steps.
There you go.
What I was explaining to Nancy is the typical procedure would be, especially in something like this, that the management that oversees the contract, which is the Master Association now, would get with the landscape vendor, put together ideas, plans, proposals based off of their experience on what strives in the community and given our pH balance, and then aesthetically what would look nice, because it's not gonna be like for like because of how grown out the community is, we're just not gonna get that same look. And then we would present that to PPAC. And then if there was any question, concern, or ideas beyond that, then we could take that back, certainly. We do recommend waiting until, obviously, all the cleanup is done, really evaluating what it looks like, waiting until after we're out of dormant season. Doesn't make sense to plant a lot of stuff during dormant season. And also, we're seeing that nurseries have the same effects. They're wiped out, and we're worried about price gouging for plant material because it's gonna be hard to come by. So we suggest waiting until we get reestablished as Florida.
So you're talking about April, May?
We would say coming into rainy season next year, that's what we would say would be the best time to really start planning back in. I think that would give us several months to really evaluate the needs of the community and also where we're at financially.
Nancy, did you say plants were already replaced?
These were some that were placed earlier this summer. I don't know if it was after the flooding or what, but I don't remember if he said what neighborhood they were in. He said we had, after the first flood situation followed by second flood and high winds from the hurricane, plants are down with their roots exposed, deer have been eating them. And he just felt it was, arbicolas were a poor choice, and they probably were. I don't know who would have made that decision, but, and that was what concerns me, is that we put the right plants in that.
Arbicola traditionally has been a good plant in that community, so I mean, like, we're steering clear of Indian hawthorn because we know that that does not work, and we had it all removed, and there's some other ones, but until the deer, it's hard to, to know which ones they're gonna find attractive that season. But you know, we just kind of base it off of what we've seen hasn't worked, and we're steering clear of that. There are certain plants that are getting fungus that we're finding out later, you know, so we're working with the Florida Institute for that.
Did anyone hear David Caldwell's comment on plants and Pelican Preserve at the last meeting? He was very specific about it.
Tell him to come up.
Yeah.
Wasn't that meeting?
Joe, come on up.
You could have talked, but make it for the record.
Yep.
Joe Schofield, Pelican Preserve. At the master meeting, Mr. Caldwell, VP of WCI&R, talked about shrubbery in, I guess, at least the common areas of Pelican Preserve, and said that they were going to revisit all the shrubbery and make new decisions on what would be replaced and what wouldn't be replaced, and what type of shrubs and trees they might put in there. And he hinted that there would be changes over what they had initially put in. So I'm not sure what territory we're talking about here, but certainly he's talking about anything under WCI&R.
Should be the same territory.
Pardon?
Should be the same territory.
Is it part of,
So why would
No.
WCI be evaluating what's going to go in?
It's the Master Association, so it's the
It's the
same thing
Master
that Sarah's talking
Association,
about.
and they control that.
They
Actually,
control
they're the
the
group
Master
that
So is this-
actually set up the Master Architectural Control Committee,
Is it
and
part-
David really still is responsible for that group. And questions were asked, would you be replacing? And he said, no, not necessarily. We're overdeveloped, overbuilt, and probably won't replace
So this-
every tree with a tree. And we will sit down and we'll review what types of plants we might want to put in going forward, not based on what was there.
so we're talking Pelican Preserve and any conveyed areas? We're not talking the stuff that's not been conveyed?
You know, I can't really comment on that. He just said that anything that he would be involved with, he would
Just
be,
made a
they'd be
general
sitting
statement.
down,
Same
getting
thing
a
that
group
Sarah said.
together and making decisions on
So
that.
we're talking Pelican Preserve?
Did he? Yeah, that, Ron, that was the meeting you went to?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, well, it was the Master Association budget.
Yeah, well, you were there.
Yeah.
Oh, the
Yeah,
budget
you-
meeting.
Yeah,
you
the
heard-
budget
you
meeting.
heard
Oh,
David-
okay,
yeah,
so it
you heard
wasn't-
David say that then, right?
Yeah, well, absolutely, yeah, and again, Sarah just indicated, the Master Association,
Yeah.
it's David Cardwell and company, going to get together with Sarah and company, they're gonna come up with a proposal that they're gonna present us.
Oh, okay. I
If it's
didn't get
areas that have not been conveyed, like Benito, for example, we don't control that,
We don't
they
control it.
would.
That's.
I didn't understand he was gonna put a proposal
Okay.
forward. I
Oh,
thought
yeah,
he
that's
just
what
said
Sarah just-
he was gonna take care of it
Okay.
with his group.
So I think we're fine on that one.
Very good.
I think we're good.
Thank you.
If it's
My only comment to add to that is they've never, Sarah said that they will come to feedback for our approval on plants, but they've not done that in the past. On the plant choices, they haven't done that in the past.
So I think we're
So I'm
fine.
surprised that you're saying that they come to feedback.
Well, we present a proposal that outlines what the plant is that we're installing. But for this kind of degree of it, I imagine it would be more pictures and things like that as well. But I mean, we do.
Sarah, why don't you come on up, because we're gonna need you for the next thing on the next thing on the agenda.
Pull a chair up.
If it would help PPAC, then when we present proposals where we're doing a replacement of changing the plant material, we can certainly add pictures and things like that if it would help you make a choice. But all proposals come through here.
So I think they've only been budgetary in the past, not this is what plant we're gonna
No.
plant. It's just, this is how much we're spending.
I remember seeing specific
Yes.
plants.
Yeah. Okay.
Just like the clusia hedge, when we said we were gonna put the perimeter hedge, we put on the proposal clusia, how many, what gallon size,
Right.
all that information.
Anything more, Nancy, specifically on the financials? I'd like to get into the association manager report, because one of the things involved there are some of the expenditures that we have made to correct the problems created by Hurricane Irma. As I mentioned in my report on the GSCD meeting, they approved the almost $12,000 for the street light, both the repairs and the upgrades. Chris approved an almost $4,000 expenditure that, from the sign, people fast signs to set the signs back up. We still have outstanding, and that's what I wanted Sarah to give us an outline about. We still have outstanding invoices, actually money that's already been spent, from Agriscape. And we need to probably approve the payment of those invoices, although we can't get them to the next CTV meeting, it would have to be the one after that. So I wanted us to get to that as well.
I put together a spreadsheet just between the president's meeting and council meeting today, CPAC meeting today, just with the estimated costs and some updates on work's been done. But right now, we're looking at, without landscape replacement, we're talking cleanup, repair, and maintenance items. You're looking at about $124,000 for CDD assets. Majority of it lighting and debris, landscape. So my understanding, based off the notes that I got from Jason, was that the West Coast and the street signs, like you just said, had already been approved. The hurricane cleanup cost at the bottom of $47,000 has already been done and billed and invoiced, and we're in the process of paying it. That was emergency response, right, immediately following storms. And then the highlighted items are the outstanding ones we're still needing approval on. I don't know that Jason was able to get them to you prior to this meeting. I do have them here, I can quickly go over them, but the information is also in there as well.
This doesn't include any of the streetlights and damages in Tract L, which hasn't been conveyed yet.
It does include some of the ones on Cypress Grove that you guys had previously changed to LED. Those ones would need to be serviced by us because they're not at scale.
So what happens to those, like, I know in Matarita 2, we've got at least 4 poles that are leaning at a 2 p.m. degree.
That's the one you'll notice where it says community streetlights, FPL's responsibility. There's 0 cost to the associate, or to the CDD, or Pelican, because they're reported straight through
So
FPL.
FPL has to fix those.
That's
And they
right.
have been, all have been reported to FPL.
Okay,
There's no
that's-
timeline.
Oh,
Thank you.
you've reported them all?
We
in
have done
all
it as
communities?
well. So
Okay.
we have a running list when the rover does the drive and when management's done the
Okay.
drive and has been reporting it. So we've been reporting it as well as, from what I understand, owners and local communities have as well.
Yes, because somebody at the president's meeting this morning said they reported those, and what they got was, from FPL was, yeah, we'll write up a ticket.
See you when you see us.
But it's gonna be a while.
Next year.
It's gonna be a while before we get to it, so.
What about the
they have
safety?
They have bigger fish to fry.
That's my
What about the
concern.
safety issue of that pole itself? We have one that's straddling, not straddling the sidewalk, but it is near the sidewalk.
John, it's a lot better than it was.
Oh, I know.
It was flat out across the street.
I know, and it was moved by our own people. What about the safety issue? I mean, FPL didn't do it.
No, they didn't. I wasn't sure if they were gonna come in for down poles or like they were.
This is a down
They should have
pole.
responded to
Definitely
down
down
poles or before anything else, but
I know.
the record shows that we recorded
I know, and it was
it. So I
moved
feel
by.
like the liability is on them.
So we're on the list for all of the individual polls, because I was just asking our
Yeah.
community
Yeah, it was an
associate,
astronomical
our
amount.
our property manager about it.
Yeah, we just took
Okay.
the initiative at the master to do it
Okay.
as well, just in case somebody wasn't sure how to report it, although we put it in our.
But it is a hazard because anybody, and I walk my dogs down that sidewalk in the
right.
morning. And with that sun, the way it comes in the morning, my first morning back from my trip, I forgot about the pole being there. And I came about this far from hitting it, just smack into it.
You might want to have your management company call, like, for an actual fitter to call in and advise that it's a concern,
Okay.
that maybe they'll address it sooner.
Or at least get it off the sidewalk.
I mean, when you fill out the form online, you're able to put details in it, but I don't know to what extent they pay attention.
If I can be excused, we can get it off soon. I can get Romero to do it.
Okay.
This afternoon?
I'll just have our neighborhood HOA report them, just to be sure,
It wouldn't hurt just to double,
in case you missed some of them. And
yeah, or maybe like if it wasn't, I mean, we do like that reports as well, you know, once or twice a month, but, you know, in case it's something faulty issue happening at night that we missed at some point.
Now, back to the common area streetlights, this $41,000. Seems to me at our last meeting, when we approved the $11,830, which the number sticks in my mind, was a couple bucks less than that. We specifically excluded the areas that are in Cypress Grove. We approved only tree line, Pelican Reserve Boulevard and Benito,
But, well,
right?
no, Pelican Reserve Boulevard was done as far as the conversion.
Yeah.
We didn't approve Prado Boulevard, but Cypress Grove had already been done.
Right.
We didn't approve that.
Oh, no, I'm talking about repairs. I think we didn't, and I must admit, I didn't bring the information with me, but I think we didn't approve the repairs other than on Pelican Reserve Boulevard, Benito, and Tree Line.
I'm not even sure about Benito, because that's not been turned over either. Well, I guess up to the
Yes,
community it is.
up to the community, yes, we approved
From
up
that
to the,
point.
up to where
Yeah.
we own.
Basically, it was only areas that had been turned over.
And-
Right.
And honestly, it could be, because all I did is research the
Yes.
proposals that we received.
Right,
It could be
exactly.
that you were shown that, you guys said no and kicked it back, and Jason's in the process of getting a new proposal.
Yeah.
This would be if it was all included, so
Okay,
this cost would come
yes,
down.
I think there were other costs, but we only approved certain pieces of it.
Because I did see a bill for like 18 grand for Benito.
Right,
It was like 30 poles, and I was like, well, we don't own half those poles,
That's
half
right.
of them would be Lennar, or most of them would be Lennar. So I'm assuming that he was working on getting it updated, and we just didn't have it.
Okay, so we need that,
Once,
make
once,
a
yes,
note.
yes, absolutely.
And then we have to make a decision how we want to handle it.
And I guess that goes through with anything else here. I don't know if they did any tree removals or whatever on Cypress Grove.
We have not.
Nothing,
No, they have their junipers contracted for Cypress Grove, they did their own cleanup through Lennar.
okay, okay.
But what you said a minute ago was that because we had converted the ones in Cypress Grove, we would be responsible for their repair?
Yes. We have not. They have the
Um,
junipers.
I don't see, excuse me, any of the cost for pond work. And we need to include
pond-
that.
Oh, I didn't mean to laugh, I thought you, I was like, I don't do any pond work, that's you, but okay, no, we didn't include that
No, like,
on a
we're-
spreadsheet.
I think,
for-
I think we need to get that, probably do that separately, Bob. when we get-
okay, I just want, if this is gonna be a master doc, I wanna make sure that those
Yeah.
bullet items hit it, that's all.
Okay.
I was like, I don't do any pond work, that's you,
So,
but okay, no.
I guess we need to, the stuff that's marked, that's highlighted,
If this is gonna be a master
as
doc.
well as the $47,000 invoice that we've already received, needs our approval. I guess we need. And so we want to look at those to make sure that that's how we want to handle it. The satellites and decoders, they're working on that, still working on the irrigation system, is that right?
Yes,
Sarah?
there was 3 satellites, 2, 3, and 7 that were completely submerged in water
Mhm.
from the first flood and then from the second. So they are needing surge suppressors and new boards and new decoders to be functional.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of the satellites are functional.
Or when these are repaired, replaced, whatever, can be placed at a harm's way? Are we changing, if they're on a fixed pedestal, are we gonna raise it?
We had
In other
not,
words, let's not put it back in the same place to get damaged again. We already know that it gets damaged.
there is no proposal to lift it or anything, so I mean, we
Out of
can
harm's way.
back to that.
My nickels are worth this, we ought to do that if we can.
Makes some sense.
That's what we're doing with ponds aeration. I'm not gonna put them back where they're gonna get destroyed again. We gotta do something
Yeah.
different, whatever that
So would
is.
you make a note that probably ought to come back with a
So do
proposal?
we have
to-
areas not getting any irrigation right now because the sediments?
Yes, that's right.
Yes.
And
that's-
that's-
A lot of areas.
A lot of areas.
And that's why we wanted to kind of push it through. Maybe that could be a subset, maybe we can evaluate how, because I'm not sure how, I didn't meet with Javier to know how the water, we had side grades rain, so I don't know if it's a matter of
Yes, that's right.
the circumstance, or if it's a matter of it can flood anytime we get rain, but we have not had this problem before these 2 events.
I have a question. When did the satellite and the satellite system get turned over to the CBD? I thought that was still all
Circumstance?
WCI or the golf course or whatever.
Yeah, I thought Jason had indicated that all the irrigation was the responsibility of the Master Association for the golf course. It wasn't us. This is before, not recently.
Right.
Because we had, as part of the reserve study, we asked them those kinds of questions.
Okay.
Okay, he had indicated that all the irrigation was you guys, not you guys to Lennar, not you guys to us.
Okay, I'll double check it because he had it in his pile
Yeah, double
of
check
proposals.
it. Well, it is an Ameriscape issue, so that
Right.
may be the reason it got into that pile.
But I'm pretty sure it's not us.
Okay.
Okay.
I have one other question. About a little more than halfway down, root ball removal. So there's lots of trees that were cut because they were dangerous, and there's these large stumps. Is that price of 17,000 to remove all of those?
Yes, there's 75 large chunks that need to have the root ball dug up and then sod put in its place until we decide what to do. That's the best and cheapest option. And then there is a secondary proposal that I included in there because an oak tree fell on the clusia hedge that we installed and killed 11 of the clusia. So I think there was $1,900 of that was for the clusia replacement.
And this, is this including the replacement plants then?
For the clusia, yes. 11 plants will be
Is
replaced.
that
So
part
it's-
of our security on the outside
Correct.
edge?
That's why we felt that one should be done now.
Out of curiosity, this 17,000 is for 75 trees to be ground.
Yes, 75 large trunks, 75 large trunks and 20 medium-sized trunks. The labor, the machinery, the disposal fee to remove the
Out of
root balls,
curiosity, this
cut it down, remove the root balls, fill it with
75
soil and sod.
Sounds cheap.
That's cheap.
Well, I want to compare it to what we're getting.
Yeah.
billed.
That sounds,
Ameriscape,
That
was
sounds
not one
cheap.
that we worried about price gouging. They really stepped it up. It gave us some really good.
yeah,
on rates.
that sounds very reasonable.
75, and what were the small trunks?
It was 75 large and 20 medium-sized.
It's $230 a root.
I'm serious, the tree line wall repair is not on here yet, I mean, this is a growing document.
Because that's the master association.
Master
This is just
Association.
the assets.
And remember, somebody said this morning that WCI is gonna step up at least to the tree line wall repair.
Okay. I'm serious, the tree line.
I can neither confirm nor deny. What I can say is we had troubles getting contractors out in the first 2 weeks just to even evaluate the fence because they were gone.
Yeah.
We went to Lennar and said, who do you have that we can contact? You know, you guys have this large umbrella of vendors. And they assisted in getting a vendor out. Now, as far as the payment, I don't know that they likely, it belongs to the Master Association. But she did make that comment, so maybe she knows something I don't.
And back to the satellite dishes, can we, do we know which neighborhoods don't have water? Irrigation that
I
we
can
can
certainly
let them
find out
know?
the zones and satellites for that. And if it's a matter of, if this is a matter of the master needing to approve it, we can have it approved tomorrow.
I know Mount Ridge has not been irrigated since
Well, I don't
June.
think we've been irrigated either, and it'd be nice to know so we can start watering our own plants.
People want to know something kind of dry.
Yeah, we have,
It hasn't rained much.
we have the same problem.
Just on the sidewalk panel, I assume that's the sidewalk. Now, it says it's between Cypress Grove and Bellagio. It's actually between Bellagio and Veneto, unless this
That's
is
right.
a different one.
I think you're right, Ron.
I just want to make sure I'm not,
Yeah.
we're not talking about two different panels being replaced,
Yeah.
or?
Well, there's one very bad one between
Veneto and Bellagio.
Veneto and Bellagio, and then there's a lesser one between Veneto and Trieste.
I can confirm with the vendor or Jason.
Just to be sure that we're not talking about two different things. That's the one they're referring to here.
Yeah.
Because it's the wrong location.
This is it's $1,600, so I imagine it's a larger.
Well, that's what
It's
we're
a big
talking
slab,
about.
and
Yeah,
it
'cause
was
the tree
tree
came
came
down
down
and pulled up
and
the
it
sidewalk.
pulled up the
Well,
sidewalk.
then that's this one, because it
Okay.
actually says that they have to wait for the tree and root ball to remove, which is the
Right.
other.
Yeah,
Right, which I did,
it's probably that one.
just did that a week ago, I guess.
Yeah, that's out.
Yeah, the root's out.
So, yeah, once the tree and root ball is removed, they're gonna do this.
Okay.
Okay, so it looks like we have about $26,000 or $27,000 excluding the satellite damage, as well as the other $47,000. That's my calculation, so a total of about 73 or 74,000 that needs to be approved and moved on to the CDD for approval.
If I can make a comment about that, Mr. Measy, I did talk to Jason, I told him when there's damage out there, they need to have pictures and information, and I'm getting these, Ameriscape $47,000. I don't have a proposal, I don't have a quote, I don't have pictures, I don't have any of our insurance companies doing any walkthroughs on this, because the first I'm hearing about is, here's an invoice you need to pay. And it's kind of circumventing our whole insurance company process after the fact, because our people aren't out there to see it or see the proposals or the quotes, or, you know, we haven't gotten anything on any of this work. And I have an invoice, I mean, I haven't even seen the invoice, much less the proposal and where the work's being done. So I think we need to get
Yeah, I can
plugged
certainly, we
in
can
into
certainly
this.
provide all those invoices, and we were out there Monday, we took a ton of pictures of the community. I mean, but there was not proposals, it was, we're gonna get out there and start cleanup, and this is gonna be the cost, labor hours.
Okay, and that's fine, as long as there's like pictures and where it is, but I need that because our insurance company needs to see it, not, here's an invoice 3 weeks later.
Well, and how much of this is
safety
going,
issue, Chris.
Oh, I know you can do it, but I'm just saying you talked to them and, you know, started the work, so, you know, you could say, hey, come out, bring your insurance company out and see this stuff too.
The insurance
Still be
company
sitting there if we did
would,
that.
still wouldn't be out.
Yeah.
No, it'd still be sitting there.
I mean, we had to do
no,
this
no.
at Portofino just so we could get by.
I understand that. What I'm saying is a proposal where they said, here's how much it costs, this is where it is, and what I told Jason, take pictures, and, you know, we need some documentation, not just an invoice coming in
is there
here.
a chance some of this is gonna be reimbursed?
Yes, that's why, the insurance, and if the insurance company turns it down, we can go to FEMA.
But
But we have to get the decline from
When we talk
insurance.
about pictures for the $47,000 worth of cutting down, removal, staking, and labor, I mean, that's been done. You know, where do we go from there? I mean, they had to do it, they
Did
did.
did by any chance anyone get pictures?
No, we
To
got,
keep-
yeah, we
Yeah.
took pictures of as much
Oh,
as
I'm
we
sure they
could,
did,
as
yeah.
much as we could reach.
Yes.
After the storm, but it's not going to be like this picture matches this day that it was serviced. Because they're doing it by day and by man hour, not by, we took down this tree at this cul-de-sac. We took
Yeah.
down
Same
this
with
tree at
us.
this cul-de-sac. But I mean, we have it all documented, we have all the invoices, we can provide pictures, it just won't be like this invoice belongs with this picture.
Yeah, because even the invoice, and as you see, like the FEMA crews that are funded working now, they have somebody that's following them and basically snapping the picture, that's how they get paid.
Well, we need
But
to
I just
get-
need some documentation.
Chris, what did the communities in Gateway do?
What did we do? We did the same thing with the
Was it
county
individual
actually.
HOAs did it?
Yeah, within the HOAs, yeah, because it was their responsibility now out on Gateway and Griffin Drive. The county came in and cleared the roadways, but we had to clear the medians. And that's what we did, is took the pictures and then got the quotes from
The
Mainscape.
HOAs took the picture, the CDD took it.
Well, the HOAs, a lot of the roads within those, we aren't responsible for them, so they were cleaning it up and then just stacking
Pelican,
it.
I'm getting the Pelican Preserve Boulevard, which is a CDD road, right?
Right.
Did you guys get pictures of that?
I don't think so. I don't
The
think.
HOAs, did you take pictures here?
Yes.
Why didn't you take them there?
I would suggest, in the future,
Yeah.
do us too.
Cooperation too.
Yeah.
That's all I'm asking
No,
for,
no,
is to be able to see
I
it.
totally agree with you, and I got a lot of pictures,
Yep.
and I got videos, but I'm just saying,
And I have-
sometimes we're like the redheaded stepchild. I know Gateway's very focused over here,
Mm-hmm.
and to a less so over there, and we like that, generally speaking.
Right.
But here's a case where,
Yeah, we need to work a
could've
little
assisted.
closer, and I
Yeah,
just
I got a
need
lot.
something besides an invoice.
Okay.
yeah, oh, understand that.
You also mentioned that the HOAs here at Gateway own the roads.
In some cases, yes.
Well, most of our roads in the communities are not owned by HOA, they're CDD roads.
That's right. Understood, understood.
So everything in Pelican would need pictures from Gateway if that's what you're gonna do.
I, at this point, would bring up something else that came up at the meeting this morning, which those of us who were there were aware of, and that is in a couple of communities,
So everything in Pelican.
most specifically, it was brought up by Herb Fries from Bellagio, that there were trees that fell down onto the road from CDD property. And but they had an emergency situation, they had to get them out of the roads, they cleaned them up,
Right.
and they are gonna bill us for that expense. And John, I gather Portofino may
had
do the same.
Yes.
Now, there may be other communities that will do the same.
I talked to some of the folks over there when they were saying that, and I
Yeah.
said, look, just get a picture and try and get
Okay.
the street sign in the background.
Yeah.
You know, and that way shoot it, it's good documentation, then
Okay.
attach it along with the bill.
Do we agree, I actually had sent Tony a an email this morning asking whether those are our, you know, just confirming that those are our responsibility. But you agree that they are our
I
responsibility?
couldn't say if you sent something to Tony, I'm not gonna get in the middle of that.
And he also sounded like they were going to send some that were in front of homes because they fell in the street. And he said that made them an emergency and made us
Yes,
responsible.
that's right, but they were.
If it was in the
but-
street,
in
we
the
couldn't get past the street.
Street, but they were in front of homes, but they were on CDD property.
But my concern there is, he said he was going to build a CDD even for the stump grinding of those
Yes,
streets.
right.
And I don't see how that could be,
If it was in the street, we
is
couldn't
CDD's
get past it.
responsibility.
Yeah, I know we're in Gateway Greens, a tree fell from a homeowner's in the yard, and when they came by to clear the road, they cut it, put it back in their yard and said, you take that with me. He said, it's your tree, we're just getting it out of the road. You know, we're not removing it for you, we're just doing the health and safety and, you know, clearing the roadway, but it was your tree that fell in the road, not.
Yeah, I'd say we're probably in the same boat. That's how,
What, that we are liable?
for the tree,
For getting it out of the street,
Yeah.
for getting it out of the street.
but
Yeah, but
not,
not for removing
No.
of the
Right.
tree
not
itself.
for the removal of the stump grinding.
Yeah. Okay, well, anyway, so my note to Tony was worthwhile. We can perhaps get some guidance from
And,
him.
it's kind of some of those details too, like I got an invoice today from CES to replace all these capacitors. I guess in fountain aerators, and it's like, well, I don't have a proposal from them or issued them a purchase order to do all this work. All of a sudden, I have an invoice with no backup, no purchase order, you know, how do I pay this?
Well, okay, now that's, I don't know if that's a particularly good example, because he's on a maintenance contract with us.
Okay,
And these is the damage of the storm, and he listed everything.
okay.
So that one wouldn't, that one, to me, looked pretty clear. But again, that's
So
me.
this is a ponds.
Yeah, it's a ponds issue,
Yeah.
but to the point of, we've been beating on the guy for a month
Yeah.
to get him back up and running. And he finally cataloged and told us everything that was down. We got it, it's in the minutes today. And he gave us a price for doing it, like $7,900, whatever. But in that case, we do have a provider who's on contract, and this is his assessment of, you know, what it's gonna take to fix it. That's a little clearer in my mind than some of the other ones. But nevertheless, you shouldn't be getting bills without invoices of what it's about.
Yeah, but the more pictures and getting them, like Ameriscape, I guess this work was 3 weeks ago, and I'm just getting the invoices now. Yeah, but I'd like to see the proposals or get that going through our insurance company, because pretty soon they're gonna say, hey, we aren't gonna cover any of this after, you know, time certain.
Given the severity of the hurricane and the damage that it caused, doesn't the insurance company give some leeway for immediate cleanup? If we wait to get a proposal and submit it to see, all that stuff would still be there.
No,
We
no,
have people who couldn't get off their streets yet.
Yeah.
oh, sure, you would have to
So
do
there's
that,
gotta
but
be some flexibility given.
we still need to have it documented. You can't just send an invoice in and say we cleared this
It's
tree.
ripe for abuse.
Yeah.
You're
And-
right.
and-
That would be, and they've cautioned everyone about
Well,
that,
and
so.
that's one of the problems FEMA was having, because a lot of their storage sites where they could move all this stuff to get rid of were on this side of the county, because they expect the coast to get hurt, and they were all underwater over here where they couldn't move the trucks in.
You're right.
And even we offered a site for them. They said, oh, we have to have a spotter, it has to be manned, we have to, you know, and it was like, it'll take us 2 weeks to set this up.
And if I can interject, let's not forget that people didn't have power for the leaf following storm, we were cleaning things up, we couldn't get proposals, we couldn't get invoices for weeks, we couldn't get things. We took pictures when we were on site, but we said, get it safe, get it cleaned up, get the debris removed, and then we get invoiced after. But ahead of time, we had signed something stating, post-hurricane, you're gonna come on site, and this is what you'll do.
Well, I think it's safe to say we have to get as much documentation as we possibly can.
Yep.
But there may be limitations.
And learn for the next time. It's a
right.
learning
We'll,
experience.
right.
we'll move it
And-
forward, but
and-
anything you have, move it to me and I'll get it
And
moving.
Chris, I guess the question is then, even, I assume that we should approve these expenditures with the knowledge that some of it may be reimbursed by insurance if we're fortunate.
We're gonna try and get everything we can, and that we can't, we'll put to FEMA, and if they can't, then we're gonna end up paying it, so,
Yes.
one way or the other.
So it seems to me that we've got, and I'm looking at this particular document we have, the sidewalk panel, the tree staking, the root ball removal, and the hurricane cleanup costs.
If we don't have pictures of all those stumps that are still sticking up, well, we should get them
Yeah,
before they remove them.
right.
And you've got lots of pictures.
I mean, right after the storm, we did, where we could access, you know, but we were in cleanup mode. We were dragging trees and just, I mean, and not stopping to take a picture of every tree that we touched and.
But it would be helpful for insurance purposes and for FEMA purposes if Ameriscape took a picture of all the stumps before they remove them, to say, here's what we did, here's what the storm left, after the initial cleanup.
And I'd caution you too, because in some cases you need like excavation and dig tickets to pull those stumps, because we've had some do-gooders coming out here and pulling the stumps out, and they're pulling the irrigation and water and sewer laterals right out with them. So they got rid of the sump for the people, but then they didn't have any water or sewer.
So I have a question on how this process works. You've got Ameriscapes who, I don't know how much they've already done.
So
So
they
we
got
ask
rid
for
of the
approval
sump for
to
the
pay
people,
them
but then they didn't
upfront,
have any
and then
water
we
or
try to
sewer.
get reimbursed. So they're not sitting out there for however long it's gonna take FEMA to decide.
Correct.
Okay.
Good.
So,
Yeah.
do we have a motion to approve those 4 items in a total of about $73,000 or $4,000? We can add it up and
Are the 4 items just the highlighted items?
Yeah.
No, they're not, no, they're
They're
not the
not
damage, the three top highlighted item in the hurricane
Highlighted, but
cleanup
not that
costs.
one.
If you
And then
number
that one.
them,
So it's
what
1,
numbers
2,
would they
3,
be to be
4.
specific
They
and
would be
clear?
numbers 4, 5, 6,
72,000.
and 8.
So we're excluding the satellite.
Side, huh?
We're excluding the satellite.
We're
Yes.
excluding the satellite. It's the sidewalk panel, tree staking, root ball removal / fuchsia hedge, and hurricane cleanup costs.
If we exclude the satellites, does that mean that we're still not gonna get irrigation?
No,
No,
We'll push it to the
no.
master like we did.
It's the master, and we believe that it's the master's responsibility. And they're working on it anyway, right? That work is being done in any event. Yeah.
I make a motion to approve numbers, issues 4, 5, 6, and 8 to be paid immediately.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Second. Moved by Jan, seconded by Nancy Hall. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous? So Chris, we'll get Jason to provide information so that you can bring that to the CDD meeting, not the next one, but the one after. the
Well,
first one in
I may
November.
try because of this and getting the insurance claim, I may
Okay, well, that's-
actually walk it on at
Walk
the
it
next
on.
meeting,
Okay,
just
that's up to you.
yeah,
but
versus,
Jason needs to get you as much information as possible.
yeah, the background.
So we'll provide the proposals and the invoices that have already been invoiced for the hurricane cleanup and pictures that we do have, and then the root ball pictures, if we can get any, we will carry them, but probably not by Tuesday, but you have.
One,
That's fine. As soon as
Sarah,
you can.
one comment here. I can't imagine that there is a single neighborhood that doesn't already have bunches of pictures of what went on in the neighborhoods as far as the trees that went across the street, that kind of thing. If any of that's helpful.
Yeah, if there's anything
If
that you're
If
lacking,
you're lacking any pictures, get it out to the
let that
community.
neighborhood
The
know.
community's
Yeah.
got them.
and believe me, they've got it.
I'll have to take a look, I
Yeah,
know
they
we took
do.
a lot of pictures, but they were, big picture, they weren't like specific to.
Even the satellite pictures.
Well, I have a lot of videos. I rode up and down
We got
Bellagio.
videos of Bellagio.
You're gonna get
where they went
inundated
down
with pictures.
I got videos.
We love pictures, I know that.
Okay,
I got a new server.
all right.
We'll get moving on this, thank you.
Okay. One other thing, which is a related item, which is the next item on the agenda, and I put this on there. I think all of you got the copy of this letter that talks about
I got a new server.
people having assessment insurance. And I'm wondering, I just put it on there because I'm wondering whether we should get something out to people. Number one, I think we probably will not have an assessment. We won't have a need to have an assessment.
This time, right?
This time around.
The master might though.
I'm wondering. The master, yeah, but.
In some neighborhoods, like.
Our
Oh, yes, that's something different. I'm talking CDD. talking CDD, should we be getting something out to the community to say that we're still toting up the costs? We're quite certain you can do this without an assessment, but you should be aware of this information about some insurance companies apparently have these assessment riders, or these riders, where he says any special assessment specifically charged for the replacement, repair of damages to association property is or can be covered one time for an additional rider of $25 up to $10,000. And he says, as long as the coverage is in place prior to the charging of the special assessment, it is covered.
So is that, I saw that,
Yeah.
I was totally confused by it, okay? Are we talking about individual homeowners?
Yep.
Getting
Yes,
that assessment?
exactly.
That's right.
Whether you're part of a condominium or not?
Right, oh,
That's another
See what
issue.
I'm saying? I mean, like a villa, that's a condominium
Yeah.
association, but we all had our individual homeowners policy.
right.
So that would
And-
be the association. Exactly.
Yeah, but I would think this was any association that feels the need to.
Or any individual.
Any,
If
well,
you're
yes.
protecting yourself, that your condo association is
Assess
going to
it.
levy you
If-
assessment.
if-
And then the HOA of Pelican's going to levy another assessment, and then possibly the CDD could give you a third. Because these three entities are all looking at their own.
You could be assessed.
Three different ways.
By any of those organizations.
Whatever.
Did anybody read the fine print of that type of a?
Another assessment.
What I'm suggesting is, if you're gonna put anything out to the community about that, you're gonna explain it very carefully, because you're gonna confuse lots and lots of people.
Well, I would suggest that we let Carol Brookie do this through the Residents Alliance, and then people that want to investigate it can. But just say, this type of thing is available, and leave it
It's
alone.
it's
It's
an
not gonna hit
individual
all of them.
choice.
Individual choice, kind of like flood insurance.
Bob, Residents Alliance doesn't include everybody.
Well, I would
They
suggest.
send
But
every.
They send it to everybody
The
that's.
information goes to the entire community.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I
they-
thought you did that just for the hurricane.
No,
No.
All emails from the Residents
Individual
Alliance
choice,
go to
kind of like
everybody.
flood
That's
insurance.
awesome.
You should have full.
And it says association property,
They send it to everybody that's.
you know, like on our street, I don't have any property,
I
so
thought you did that
I don't think it would matter.
No.
I don't think they could.
All emails.
Because we'd be doing cleanup.
So my point is, your individual homeowners policy would have to have that right.
Yes, but what I'm saying is, it says it covers association property. We don't have any property as, on our street that is owned by the association.
Well, then you wouldn't get an assessment.
Then you wouldn't get an assessment for it.
But
It
the
would still be
master
covered by-
association
yeah.
might give you
Might
one.
assessment.
The
We might
CDD
assess-
might give you
an
one.
assessment.
And the reason I'm saying, I'm agreeing with you, it needs to be explained clearly, because I had one of my neighbors send me that email saying,
Okay.
you shouldn't be doing this, you shouldn't be raising our dues to set up a fund, you should just do a special assessment, because he thinks it would be covered, and I don't think it would in our neighborhood. So I think it has to be very clearly stated what it covers.
Okay.
It's very
Okay.
complicated.
I think it
Well, I
does get
think,
very
I
complicated.
think it needs to be discussed with Carol. Carol may take the same
Yeah.
position that we have, that it's
Stu, go.
I had never even heard of it, reading the concept.
Well, no,
I agree, I agree.
Nothing but good news.
And it might
Okay,
not be every
let's-
insurance
let's-
company offers that.
right.
Yeah, yes, I'm sure,
yeah.
I'm sure a lot of insurance companies don't.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on. I wanted to get, Jan has
I
to
had
leave
never
the
even heard
meeting
of the
early,
concept.
and she is a key person on conveyance issues. We have, Chris, three, well, no, actually two, I guess, actual conveyance things, going to the meeting on Thursday. One is the, I guess, the turnover and conveyance of Casella 1 and 2, Pelican Preserve,
Roads and drainage?
road and drainage.
That was my question. Is that all it is? Okay.
It's only road.
Even
and-
though Casella 2's not been developed yet? Okay.
So it's just road and drainage.
I'm fine with that. I've gone through, but, no, I'm not fine with that.
I'm not fine with that.
Bob's not fine with that.
We've made the formal request now that Lennar's got to clean all catch basins for anything before they turn it over to us as a result of the storm.
Oh, that makes sense.
No, and basically, I'm putting that out there, and I don't think we've gotten, or you have a response from Lennar about
The only
cleaning.
response is, we'll look at it, and that was 3 weeks ago. They're
Yes,
still
sir.
looking.
And I think it's time to put it in front of the board.
Well,
And
Well,
bring-
yes.
and
at the
bring-
last board meeting, I did mention it, when they approved the expenditure for those catch basins under the control of the CDD, which we'll talk about later.
And we made it an issue about, the number of cracked curbs, which can tend to crack the driveways and the roundabout, that type of thing. And they said, well, we always fix these when we do the final lift. And of course, we hold the bond money and 10% of that. And so, you can move forward, but if it's not done, then you make a claim on the bond and under warranty because you still have that warranty period. But I think some of these issues have been sitting in the background, and it's time to get them out in front of the board and bring them out and let the board make,
And the board hasn't decided whether they're gonna accept Casella 1 and 2 or just 1.
right?
So that's an issue. And the Ponds Work Group is still objecting to Casella 1 based on the island in the flowway.
Right. And
Right now, that's a debate of whether it's aesthetics or whether South Florida can mandate it. I mean,
well, they had a meeting with South Florida, and the district's not going to do a thing about it. It's been permitted, and they think the permit's fine. And again, it's a rock island, and they said it's an aesthetic. So,
right now, that's.
there's no relief from them on that side of it. We are looking into some different issues over in Carina about the grading and some of the maintenance easement, whether it's actually underwater, at that time. So those issues will come up. But like I said, instead of fighting this all in the background, we're going to bring it to the board, put the
Sooner-
issues up there.
Sooner or later, if the issue of the island isn't resolved,
Right.
we're gonna have to do it.
This is the
Somebody's gonna
entry
have to do it.
island?
Pardon?
This is the entry island
No,
to
no,
Casella?
There's an
Sandbar.
island in the middle of the flowway. There's a low point.
Thank you.
High point.
I could get you some pictures.
I don't know pond lingo.
High point. This is flowway lingo, but that's all right.
And when the water's high, you don't see it. So,
And sooner or later, either erosion's gonna move it down, it's gonna become silt, or we're gonna have to move out. Or we ought to make Lennar do it now.
All right, I tried to get through the 48 pages. Is there a way to simplify this?
when the
It's
water's
just
high,
not
you don't see it.
going For me,
Well, one thing you don't notice on there is there's no landscaping. And I'll have to go back to that too, that the district, it says, inspect landscaping in the permit criteria manual over there, but they've never have. Tetra Tech will tell you they never have, and the district does not accept landscaping like they accept roads, et cetera. Tony's position is that the landscaping is part of the right-of-way, hence part of the road. And I said, well, what if it's not in the roadway, in the landscaping? In the
well, actually, a lot of the
Tetra Tech-
landscaping on Cypress Grove has just
like they accept
blown all over the road.
Did you
Because
say
they've never
Tetra
been
Tech
careful.
has never accepted landscape?
Never inspected it.
That's not true.
That's not true.
I've been on a number of inspections
Yep.
with the chairman at the time,
Okay.
and Tetra Tech, and Lennar, who were back then WCI. And we have inspected landscaping on
No,
Cypress Creek.
at the last meeting, when we were talking about it, Tyler turned around and said, we never have inspected
But
landscaping.
Tyler might not have, but Danny was out
With the
there.
But
chairman.
at least recently, my experience has been that Tetra Tech's position has been, we don't get into the landscaping stuff.
That's what they've told me.
That's what they have been telling us over the last 6 months or a year, as we've started to push landscaping. They've been saying, that's not,
Well, when
that's not
Nancy and I
part of
were
our-
looking, it was a combination. We're looking at the road, looking at the gutters, looking at concrete. But, oh, by the way, we definitely looked at the landscaping too.
What was this, an old Pelican?
No,
Yeah, the old-
Cypress Grove Boulevard,
Cypress Grove.
when it
They
was first
first-
being developed.
They first wanted to give it to us
Well,
in
when Nancy and I were
2012.
looking, it was a combination.
Thereabouts,
We're
and
looking
that
at the
was
road,
when
looking at the gutters, looking at
Danny,
concrete. But, oh, by the way, we
Bob,
definitely looked at the landscape. Gary?
Gary, I'm not sure who else.
Some WCI people, I don't remember who, whether it was Caldwell himself or not. We all walked everything. Plants that were dead were made note of. We
I've got
absolutely
pictures
did
of all
all
of
that.
them as of June. And Chris has some of them, he's got all of them from Casella. There's a lot of deficits.
Well,
And my remark to the CDD board at one point was, WCI told Ameriscape, if they're dead, pull them out. We're not replacing them because it looks better naked than it does with dead plants. So we still can't get a hold of the master landscaping plan. And there was one when they were building every single section in Pelican. No one in Lennar will give it to us.
And there's big areas inside this grove with nothing, they just pulled up plants a year ago now.
And that's exactly what Ameriscapes was told to do by Lennar, was to pull them out.
Can't you get that from the city? Doesn't the city have the landscaping plan also in addition to the other documents?
It would be in the development order, you would think, but
And that's exactly
probably not.
what Ameriscapes was told to do.
Well, we've got to marshal the resources of the board to demand it. We know they've got it. We all saw them when they did the tree line road, the wall landscaping, we got plans first.
Right.
So every time they do something, they have a plan. That's how they let it out to bid. We just got to get the board behind it to enforce it. We've got to marshal the
I have to
resources
leave
of the board
very
to
shortly.
demand it. We know they've got it.
But can we get
We
on the
all saw them when they
Matarita
did the tree
turnover?
line.
They're turning over the
Wall
roads?
landscaping, we got
2A
plans
and
first.
Solero.
So every time they
What
do
is
something, they have a
Matarita
plan.
2A?
That's how
I
they
have
let
to
it
go
out.
pull the map.
We just gotta
It's
get the-
I
Solero
don't know what
Road.
it is.
Is it just Solero?
Yeah, pretty much. It's a small, it's,
My concern, I live there.
yeah, and it's in the packet in the roadway and a little map of it, but it's the same thing. It's the roadway drainage and a couple conservation areas and the pond.
Well, I'm reading this, I think I'm in the minutes, I don't know where, and that was some stuff there. Where the property appraiser said that Solaro can't be, the parcel can't be split the way it's done.
That's a set, gun issue. That was Tony making a statement, and it wasn't really correct. They were looking at trying, that when they put the road in, part of the right-of-way was in a split parcel, and the property appraiser came back and said that was in error. There's no problem with it. So that's a dead issue.
That was resolved.
I think what's really important for me, since we've documented so much of all of Tractell, and I've gone through since the hurricane, and the curbing issues have deteriorated because of the hurricane, Harvey Jr. and Irma. So I'm against any conveyance of road issues for any part of Tractell until those issues are addressed, especially in the areas that have already received the final lift. I know it's more challenging, but we were told by WCI, we're gonna fix it, and it's never been fixed. Like, you can't let Lennar walk away from this. I tried to respond to you with a note and send you pictures of another issue with conveyance, and it rejected my email. And when I went to delete the photos that I was sending you, because I know how fond you are, it deleted the whole email. So I didn't have time to rewrite it. One of the issues that came up during Harvey Jr. and Irma, the very, very end of Matarita 2, and you probably are aware, but Bob Gephert and I have looked at it many times. The end house sits on the pond and next to a preserve. The pond and the preserve merged, and then the water had no place else
I'm
to go.
going to talk
because
about that today. That's been resolved.
The,
Matthew's house.
okay, yeah.
I was going to talk about it
Well, they've
today.
got the stakes there, so,
We're okay with it.
but we agreed it was part of the conveyance
It's
issue,
okay,
so,
yes.
so that's, okay,
It's
so
on the
fine.
list.
As long as the roads in Matarita, which would include Matarita, Severino, Migliera.
We're okay with it.
But we agreed. Another one.
It's the one that crosses, that starts with a C.
As long as the roads in
Centrella.
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 Perfect. Good memory. As long as those roads aren't being conveyed, Severino, Migliera.
They can't convey anything until they clean the catch basins and give us proof they've done it.
Okay.
Well, and let me say this too. You need to work through the board because Pelican has no standing in this process.
Yeah, well, we understand that.
Yeah, and
We
I
understand.
totally
that.
agree.
We
So-
totally agree.
so
We
we can-
understand, we've got to get the board to either, stop it or say it can go forward. We understand that. That's the reason we're.
And
That's
instead
one of
of-
the things that's going to be a motion here today.
And that's why I said, you know what, instead of it being in the background and none of this is getting resolved, you put it in front of the board, you bring these issues up,
Yep.
and you have them vote on it, and then you have Tony make his statements on the record, and the board members and Lennar on the record, and you're either gonna work it out or not work it out.
Well, what can we do differently?
The only thing that I think, that may be, and you've already been involved, is some of the inspection and the inspection reports from Tetra Tech and following up, and in some cases, there's issues there because Lennar will send over the photographs and the inspections of the storm sewer like they did recently, and they don't get any comments back from Tetra Tech for 6 months. You know, and they're like, what's going on? And I'm asking them the same thing. Why does it take you guys 6 months? And not to
We're all asking.
crack, I mean, you have an EI reviewing it with very limited experience.
But not to minimize the scope of the effort, when they send over the videos and everything,
Right,
they're sending hundreds of hours.
right.
And then what Tetra Tech is tasked with doing is to take each little subsection and compare it to the master drawing to make sure nothing has been omitted. And then when items were found, did they, Lennar, follow up and fix it? That's the closing of the loop. That's the detail that is just moving glacially. But it's moving.
Well, I guess one of the concerns here is, and I'm sure Jan has the same one, on this on Chris's memo on the turnover and conveyance of Matarita 2A drainage and roads, it says the staff recommends the board accept the conveyance and transfer of the roadway. I guess now,
That's,
well, what I'm hearing from you is that we don't want to do that.
that is absolutely correct.
We
And I have
wanna-
notified both Tetra Tech and the district
That
and
we
the
don't-
board verbally.
Right.
Okay, so what will you be saying at the board meeting on this issue?
Well, what I'm doing is following the permit criteria manual and the developer's representations that those items are going to be fixed in the final lift or that they're going to fix them, and I'm just relying on if they aren't, then I'll go after their bond,
Okay, so
you know, if we have to do it. But again,
See, I don't agree with you.
Yeah, I was
mean,
gonna
we
say,
have a
I think,
difference.
I think the position of this committee is, we don't want this conveyed until at
Correct.
least that
That
issue is
element,
cleared.
that's new. The flood was new, the hurricane was new. But as a result of that, we now have new information, and we need them to respond.
and I don't make the decision.
Yeah, I understand that.
Everything, the checks are done,
Yeah.
and I'm not gonna stop it. I'm gonna put it on the agenda.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And it's
so-
it's a decision by the Board of Supervisors
That's
and
right. And we come and
people-
make our pitch.
Correct.
Now, one thing that Tony said at one of the CBD meetings was that he didn't think that bond covered damage done by
Put
construction.
it on the agenda.
So that concerns me a
And it's
little
a,
bit
it's a
because so much
decision
of the
by the Board of
Casella
Supervisors
is
and
damaged by
We come and make our
construction.
pitch.
Continuing to get damage.
Yes, continuing. So if we accept Casella too, that's not even started. And I know you said you counted, what, 77 problems in
have
Casella one?
67 cracks that we found. We had to go back and get another can of paint out of the truck, so.
Yeah, so if the bond doesn't cover contractors damaging things, what good does that 10% bond do us if that's the problem at the end of construction?
Well, you would hope that 10% would cover it, but the developer's representation is that all those are fixed when they do the final lift, much like the end of Pelican Preserve Boulevard that they did 6 or 7 months ago, via Donna and down there. There was a number of cracked curbs, and from the original estimate, the number they ended up fixing, it was considerably more, but they did fix them, you know, when they did that final lift.
Is it possible
6 or 7 months ago, via Donna and
for
down
someone
there,
from the CDD
number of cracked curbs.
and me to go through track L and mark all cracks that we've identified
But they did
with
fix
paint?
them, you know, when they did that final lift. Probably could. It'd probably be better if you did it with Tetra Tech, because they're the ones that write the inspection reports. You know, not the CDD. And once again, you get something from you, and we don't care. The person involved in the process is the district engineer, is Tetra Tech. And even when we start stepping into it at district staff level, we work with them, but they write the report.
Did you go out to Casella with Tetra Tech?
No, I didn't. Terry did, and Mike did.
Oh, so someone from here went
2
with
times.
Tetra Tech?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Casella's a mess.
And we've done it twice. Mike went out there once, and more recently to show Cindy. She went out there, and Terry Handel did, and he had to go back to the truck and get another can of paint, because one can of paint didn't cover it.
Oh, so someone
And
doesn't
their
surprise
response
me.
was, we will fix it during the final
Casella's a
lift.
mess.
I do not have
I find that
the,
unacceptable.
are you planning to go to the next, to Thursday's meeting?
Yes, sir.
And I don't know who
I was
specifically.
originally, but you
I'm
guys know
going
the
to
issue.
speak to my specific issues.
Huh?
I don't want to go to represent P-PAC, because I don't want to spend the whole night there, but
Right.
I will go to speak to my issues, which is typically what I do, and they let me go in early.
Mhm.
And I really think the board forum is the way to do it, because what I hear is WCI told us this, Lennar told us that. It doesn't matter what they told you. Get up in a recorded public forum and make your statements and see what their response is.
And I would throw back to you, if they're
See if
telling
Jan
you
can
that they would,
go
that
to the
that's
next
gonna be
meeting. 'Cause I don't know
taken
enough
care
about
of,
it.
She's not there.
then, I would ask if they would make sure that that's in writing, that the specific concerns are this, this, and this. And if they want to have, if they care about having our support on it, that they would put that in writing specifically, so that we would know that that was covered.
And I think they do. I think they're concerned about sales in the community,
It depends.
But it
Yeah,
depends.
but they have a habit, Chris, of hearing you,
I need to leave,
But
but I
they
need to
don't
clarify
challenge
a
you?
few things
Right.
before I do.
Yeah,
so you don't get a
When
yes,
is the
you don't
next
get a
CBD
no.
meeting?
Huh?
Week from today.
a week from today.
I am out of
How do you
town.
prove you
Yes, I
told
know
them
you're out of
later?
town.
At least in the last board meeting, it's on the record.
Correct.
I mean,
But
I don't
someone
know
needs
enough.
to speak to the conveyance issue.
I mean, I don't know enough about that.
But they don't challenge
Yeah,
you.
I
So you don't get a yes, you don't get a
I
no.
will attend the meeting if necessary.
Well, I'm in Virginia, and I may be out of pocket for about a month.
Yeah,
I won't know for a couple of weeks
yeah.
what my schedule's gonna be like, but I'm definitely out of pocket for a month. However, I would take a meeting when I get back from Virginia, I think, with Tetra Tech to spray paint everything. As long as we've got the CDD approval to do that, do we need CDD approval to do that?
Well, we don't own it yet, but you can use marking paint. I mean, it washes off in a week or two. So.
I would take a meeting when I get back. Well, I want someone to see it from the CDD. I want someone to see.
Tetra Tech is the CD.
Yeah.
See,
and
They are the engineering.
We've
firm.
seen it. We've been
That's
out
CD.
Over
there.
230
Well, we don't own it yet, but you
severe issues. They're not just little tiny spider crabs, although there's
And
plenty
we bring
of
it
those
up
too.
because when that curb and gutter cracks, all of a sudden it starts cracking the driveway, because when the car goes in, so it basically just extends itself, so we understand it, yep.
okay.
All right.
And we'll have somebody there to address
Bring
this.
it up because
I will
Bob will
send
be
you
addressing
anything that you need.
Yeah.
all of a sudden it starts cracking the driveway, because when the car goes in.
Okay.
I think
so it
Bob's
basically
probably most familiar,
extends
you are too, so I apologize, but
No. we
this is a
understand.
priority
I
issue.
understand. It is a priority issue. Certainly. You are a priority issue. Not the board. Any of that stuff.
Well, I'm passionate about the work we do,
Yeah, I know you
and I'm passionate about getting the CDD to support us.
are. Okay.
This is a priority
Any,
issue.
so any further discussion of this, other than we need people there to,
No, for those of you that don't come regularly to the board meetings, you gotta realize what a hot potato this is.
yeah, yeah.
The board's been trying to support us. Lennar keeps saying, you know, they got the permit manual, they do everything. We give them a checklist. They work it all. By the time they go approval again, we have new items on the checklist. This has been a never-ending battle. I understand that. I'm a little sympathetic to what they're up against.
Yep.
However, we're on the receiving end.
Yep.
The sympathy stops. We need them to move forward on it. They've been very rigid in certain things, Lennar. They will not provide Casella 1 as a conveyance without getting 2.
Congratulations.
That seems like a real simple thing to me. Get Casella 1, we accept it, move on. When they build Casella 2, we'll do that. For some reason, they don't want to do
They
anything
don't
with
wanna do
it.
that.
They didn't want to give us piecemeal sections of Track L and how to read 2A and all that. I mean, it's a lot of history, it's a lot of BS. But we are where we are, and it's been a year later. They're still paying, they don't like that. They want to transfer it to us. I'm sympathetic to that too, we want them. Track L and. But we
Well,
don't
they
want
have
them.
debt financing too, so they want to get it rid of it.
Absolutely. But we are where we are, and it's been a year later. They're still
Anything
paying.
else on conveyance issues? We will be represented at the next meeting. And Chris, frankly, you know, we are gonna say that we don't agree with your recommendations.
Oh, that's fine. I didn't expect you would.
Okay.
And I think, again, the rubber will hit the road at the board meeting, and Mr. Gepford's
Yeah,
seen it.
Your focus is the permit manual. I totally agree. I understand that.
Yep, and they'll come back again, say, well, P-PAC doesn't have any standing, and that's why it really needs to go, you know,
That's
the board
exactly
to make
right.
the decision.
Yeah.
And I think asking for,
We'll hit the road at
asking
the board
for
meeting,
something in
just
writing
get
from
the
them
CDs.
You're focused on Burbank.
about
I totally agree. I understand.
fixing
Yep. And
whatever it
they'll come
is
back again, say, well,
that we
VPAC
want,
doesn't
the
have
cracks, the
standard,
whatever.
that's why.
Boy, is that tough to get, Nancy.
being,
That's
being
exactly
very
right.
specific. And I think asking
And
for
basically, my recommendation in putting on the agenda is I'm calling the question.
fixing
Instead of everybody talking about it and negotiating, and we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that, it's gonna be right up there, and we'll get it settled one way or the
And
other.
the one item, Nancy, quite honestly, where we did get it in writing,
My
is in
recommendation
Prado and
is
Pistola,
on the agenda
that they're gonna put in the drains we asked for, we're gonna pay for them. And we got that in writing about, May, and they haven't done not one home. Can't find anybody that'll do it. But they gave it to us in writing that they're going to. But it's been 5 months, almost 6 months. They haven't done the first one.
Well, it's taking a long time to do all of them.
Well, they haven't done any.
They're waiting to hire your contractors because they get the best price for it.
Our contractor does a good job. All right.
All right, let's move on. Capital Reserve Study, and I apologize, I forgot to include in my
They haven't
summary
done
of
any.
the meeting that Philip
They're
Rowe
waiting to
was
hire your
put before the board.
contractors because they get the best price for it.
Our contractor does a good job.
Good. There's not much new to report. I sent Chris, who haven't gotten back to me yet.
Yeah, I've not gotten back to him yet, but we are having a meeting on that Monday, and I'll have final comments for you.
Okay.
And we're looking,
You need either myself or Philip to attend that, or you guys are good?
no, it's just, we're looking at
Okay.
consistencies internal and accounts
Okay,
and a
'cause I
couple.
sent you-
What is, can you give us a little more?
Well,
What's the meeting about?
I provided Chris with a draft of the RFP, request for a proposal to go out to do the reserve study.
Okay.
Okay, I sent them,
No, it's just-
since the last one was,
Consistencies
whatever, a
internal
number of weeks ago,
accounts, a couple.
I sent the revised one, just updating the dates primarily. We took some of the irrigation comments that I had in there out, since the Master Association takes care of irrigation, shouldn't be in there. So I sent that to him Monday. So what I need Chris to do is to look at that, provide comments, whatever, approve it at his level, so that we can go out for a contract. I then come to you guys to say, here, we're ready to go. Here's the request for a proposal for you guys to take a quick look at it. If it's okay with you, we, as a committee, will approve it, then it goes to the CDD for final approval, and go out for bids. Okay? So that's still gonna be at least a month or so, I would think, before we can get the CDD to approve it, regardless.
Yeah, we'll have our comments by, Monday,
So we will
week
get
done.
us to be able to approve it, assuming there's very few comments, we'll see, till the next meeting. So that's, a month from now, and then they'll get it to the next CDD meeting. So that's kind of where it's
We'll have
at.
our
If you guys want, I'll wait till Monday, I'll wait till after Chris has a chance to review. If he doesn't have major comments, I'll send it out to you guys before the next month's meeting, so you can look at it and get comments back to me before that. Okay, assuming Chris is minor changes that you got waiting there.
But Ron, you and Philip have done all the kind of the background stuff that you need to do to prepare for consultants coming in to do this.
Yeah, it's part of the proposal, we told them, here's what you want to look at. We've divided the community into 3 parts. Old Pelican, already conveyed. Track L, I guess, is the best way, stuff we expect to be conveyed soon. And then the third part is Prado and Pistoia, which won't happen for another, who knows, 2, 3, 4 years from now. So we divided it into 3 parts, so that we as a committee can look at that and say, well, when this is conveyed, and some of it is being conveyed, we need to up our reserve by X number of dollars to accommodate that. And we'll have that. If we have to update it in 5 years to take care of Prado Pistoia, we'll have something to update.
And that's consistent with the way we've developed the community and everything else.
Yeah, that's the point.
Any other questions of Ron?
Oops, in the audience.
If I ask a question, just because I missed the conversation about the reserve study.
And that's
Now,
consistent.
you guys do have irrigation repairs and maintenance for this point. I wanted to clarify, the irrigation's not all responsibility of the master. The wet well, the pump, the irrigation pond, the allowing it to speak to all the zones, satellites, decoders, electrical components, but like repairs of main lines and breaks and heads that service common areas, that are CBD common areas, are CBD expenses.
So the discussion we had with Jason was, does any of that need to have money put aside as a reserve, i.e. 20 years from now, we gotta replace the system?
Right.
And that was the question that we presented to Jason, and Jason came back and said that would be the responsibility of the master.
Okay, I'll double
Now,
check
if you
that,
need to-
because you do pay for repairs and maintenance. If a
Right.
break happens in tree line north of the wall, that comes out of CDD funds, and the piping, that piping is yours.
But that's budgeted.
That's
Yeah,
budgeted.
right.
That's budgeted, and that's the
I just didn't know if
question.
we were considering reserving for like that section of the system, I don't know. I didn't know if that was something that we did.
But most of that can be budgeted items as opposed to saying, hey, like a new roof on a condo needs replaced every 30 years.
Sure.
That's the question. So if you
I
budget
have seen
correctly.
that some people, some communities do, for if they had to tear out the
Most of that
infrastructure and
can
replace it, some
be
people,
budgeted
I have
items
seen communities do it, not saying you need to or that it's required, I just,
Like a new
because there's so
roof
many different
on a
components, every
condo
neighborhood's responsible for their area of
replaced every
irrigation,
30
and
years.
irrigates just
So
their
if you
community,
budget
so
correctly.
it's just a matter
So,
of.
talk to Jason, if he's not sure about his original answer, we'll get back together with you guys
Yeah,
and talk
I'm
about
pretty
it.
sure the infrastructure is not the entire Pelican.
Well, and I guess the question is, what's the likelihood that the whole infrastructure would need to be replaced, or a significant part of it, if it
In
is
one time.
ours at
Right.
one time?
Right, so yeah, as long as you're budgeting for it, but I just wanted to clarify, because I didn't want there to be confusion on that. Okay.
Thanks, Sarah.
What's the likelihood?
Okay, anything on the bond update regarding claim of funds? We're all set?
Keep getting them in, we just need to get a reconciliation, we gotta be close to the end.
Okay.
Unless they, I haven't talked to them recently, Nancy.
I haven't either, so
Okay.
Stephen would be the one to
Yep,
Anything on the
tell you.
bond update?
there are people pushing that.
Okay, GSCDD board meeting report. You got my report, we got an earlier report from Ron. I would add to this, maybe a report to you
Yep.
on a couple of items that
There
came
are
up at the
people pushing
president's
that.
meeting this morning, which I think are of interest to us. One of them is that Mike Lampier from Palazzo brought up the fact that if during a hurricane or other kind of disaster, the bridge on Pelican Reserve was somehow washed out, there is no access for emergency vehicles to get to the communities beyond that bridge. And
Or you
so,
could say that about all bridges in the community. Trieste,
yeah,
same issue.
yes.
Not
So-
less people there, though.
Well, hey, I don't live there, so.
Well,
you know, it's-
I didn't want to delay that meeting,
Yeah.
but, you know, we really do have access back behind Portofino and Casella. The weir back there is a
Yeah.
concrete, it's a bridge.
Sure.
Is it?
Yeah, if you had to, you
You
could get
can
through
get
it.
around through
I
there.
don't live there. so-
Well, now, however, if it's a high water event, then obviously
You
you
may not
can't.
be able to, because it's
But-
high water.
Yeah.
Casella. But it's still a good point. They got very afraid when we had the water break,
Yeah.
because it took a lot of land out of that Camarel community, that one home. And that's what got their attention.
Well, Castle is supposed to look into that, Sarah, so you ought to be aware of
But it's still a good
what
point. They
Bob,
got
the
very
comments that
afraid.
Bob
Yeah,
was
if you look at Weir 2, or the first Weir in the community, it would provide emergency access. Camarel community, that one home.
Assuming there wasn't a flooding event.
Yeah, it's right.
And so maybe if that turns out to be true, like the fire department and that should be made aware that
Yes.
there is access in emergencies.
Yes. And you can go out there and look at that. Once they build Casella 2, maybe not, but right now, or if they build out Palazzo, you may not be able to get through, but today you can. Got a high-wheel vehicle, you can get there.
The other thing that came up, which is not of
Yes.
direct concern
You go
to
out there and
us,
look
but
at that.
is
Once
of
they
interest to
build
the
Casella
community,
2,
and this had to do
maybe
with
not, but
the
right now,
boiled water
or if they
notice
build out
process.
Palazzo,
We
you
seem to be
can
getting
today.
an awful lot of boiled water notices in the last 6 months or a year.
I didn't want to say it. Has anybody in here ever boiled water? Because I haven't.
Oh, my wife does.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I drink it all so far anyway. I'm still here, but okay.
It seems to me,
That's what happened. And memory. Has anybody ever boiled
In any event, I took it on my own to contact Gail Anthony about the issue. And I had already written her an email in which I said that the only thing that was talked about at the meeting really was the whole procedure on the boil water notice. How does how does the city give it? Do they give it soon enough? What happens? When do they put the sign up at the gate? And then apparently this last time, the sign came down before the boil water notice was actually off, and there was some little written sign at the gate. So I asked Gail, number one, why are we getting so many of these things recently? Is there anything the city can do about it? What kind of action might they take? I don't know if there's anything, and the other one was the boil water notice. She got back to me within 10 minutes and has referred it to Saeed Kazemi to get somebody that I can talk to about.
Look how many times that sidewalk on the tree line broke, and they were always digging it up.
Yes.
I mean, early Pelican, we used to have this routinely.
Did you? Yeah.
Oh, my goodness, they were always breaking.
Well, back in the day, the city workers would come around to the neighborhood and put written notices on the doors.
On the doors.
About boil waters.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Weren't that many of us then, Danny?
That's right.
That was easy to do.
Well,
back then.
one of the problems that was brought up was the fact that sometimes we probably don't get notification for these things for 6 or 8
Till
hours
after it's
after
over,
it
right.
actually happens, and we've
The
already,
first one was day later.
a day
The
later.
first one,
So we're
yeah,
actually
on a
getting-
Sunday, we didn't get a phone notice.
As I understand it,
One of the
it's,
problems.
I guess it's automatic. They have to issue it if there's a water main break, whether there's a problem or not, they have to issue it. And once they issue it, they have to wait 48 hours of
Yeah.
testing and then make sure there's no contamination in the water. So once the boil notice comes out, it's up for 48 hours as a minimum. And there's no necessary indication that there's a problem. It's only a maybe.
Well, suffices.
Well, I'm glad to hear somebody at
suffices
least does it. I have never done
Suffices to say, I'd like to get an idea of why,
Yeah,
what's going on.
what can they do?
And what can they do?
Now,
I don't know how you,
somebody was telling me that, and I haven't joined that app, but the app next
I'm glad to hear
door
somebody at least does it.
supposedly gets those kind of notices
Immediately.
immediately. And
Yeah,
Carol
what can they
Brocky
do?
has joined next door, and so
Yeah.
as soon as she checks it,
I get an
regularly.
email notification from them immediately.
Yeah.
I hear about the boil water from hours before I hear anything from Pelican.
well,
Get
Castle,
on that app.
Castle is also on the list to get notified by the city.
And sometimes it's hours afterwards.
It is, yeah.
I mean, we
Get the app.
I don't know how,
Get the
I don't
app.
know how that app is getting it, but I get that way before I get
That
it.
app seems to be the best way to get those notices.
And then the other thing they brought up this morning that they really need to clarify is these boil water notices are only for the city water. The people who are on Gateway haven't been affected.
Right.
And the first couple of times, they were under the assumption they were under boil water too, because nobody told them it was only for the city water.
City
How do you handle that, Chris?
Well, the boil water is kind of, it's, like Ron said, anytime you have a breach in the line or you go under 20 pounds of pressure, you're required to issue it. And the 48 hours is because once you take the test, it takes the lab 12 or 14 hours to get it back. In a lot of cases, they'll make you take 2. They'll go upstream and downstream, so that's what it is. But we got a lot of calls about it from Gateway residents. And because we don't even get that notification, because it's the city of Fort Myers, so we're actually looking at that. We're working on a communication plan, one from the hurricane issues, but one, how do we get that out? But we put it on our website almost immediately. I mean, if you look back on our site, you'll see City of Fort Myers, and it'll go, this affects only the city customers, not Gateway.
But if
So we're actually
Gateway
looking at that. We're working on
is in a boil water mode,
Right.
how do you notify
How do we
your
get that out?
people
We
or
put it
the
on
Pelican
our website
people that get their water from Gateway?
Well, in most cases, we actually will still do the door hangers, and we'll put it on Facebook, and we'll put it on our website.
You do the door hangers.
Yep. But in a lot of cases, that's localized, and then we'll go put a barricade up, like on the street, boil water notice in effect. So,
So my understanding is the sign, the electronic sign, the city provides that.
That's what they said.
That's what they said today, it
Yeah.
just showed up.
Yeah, it did show up.
Big Scotch.
Well, if
Well,
If the
it's
city
very-
provides that immediately before notice goes out, that means Securitas knows that. Can't they alert?
What they said
Brings
today,
up the
it showed up.
Securitas issue.
Well, we're not saying that sign was there that early, though.
Yeah.
It's not there that quick. If the city provides that
And also, when you look
immediately
at notifying people, or like even through our utility billing system, you know, we have email addresses for a lot of people, but a lot of people won't give them out because once it comes here, it's public information.
it's not there that
All right, just,
And also, when you look at
Like,
notifying people.
Could Castle Group send out an email immediately as soon as they know?
they do.
But
They-
if it was just for Gateway, could they get it out to the Gateway people?
No, we send it out to the entire and say, this only affects this
Okay.
area or something. But again, people may not read it. Sometimes we put boil water notice, we don't know, we want them to open it, but some people just go, oh, that means boil water notice, and they don't actually open the email.
Okay, but you would specify
Yeah.
which neighborhoods.
Yes.
System.
All right, well, that was just for general information. We'll move on to the ponds work group. I think
Which is
Mr.
always
Gepper is to be
illuminating and
congratulated.
exciting.
Mr. Gepper is to be congratulated for a very worthwhile and
Well, we had help with
I would like to second that.
constructive
Yes,
letter.
absolutely.
Excellent letter.
I've received numerous compliments, Bob, for
We had help with the authorship. Our chairman also contributed greatly to it, so.
You've done
Okay.
a great job, really. I think
Thorough, and it was
fabulous.
understandable.
I would like
good.
to second that.
All
yeah.
right, very good, okay. Now we'll get to the real money. Okay. We work very closely with Brocky through the whole process with the Alliance. As Chris mentioned today, rather than just getting bills going in and invoices, we have been out getting quotes and then submitting the quotes for approval. We took to the board $69,000 to clean the catch basins in all of the neighborhoods that had the major flooding, Portofino, Bellagio, and everything on the other side of the bridge. And the board did approve that. Before we're doing that, the guy that's actually doing the work suggested we get the streets swept first because there's a lot of debris, silt, leaves, et cetera. So we got a quote from an outfit called Sweeperman that the district has a relationship with, and they contract within Pelican. And so they gave us a special bid of $1,100. And I saw a supplement before I came here today. They want another $325, Chris. So I don't know what that's about, because it had the same streets that were already in the original quote. So I don't know, Kaching, the cash register's rigging, he thinks he can get us for a few more bucks. I'm gonna hold him to his original quote. But that should be done this week, the sweeping, and then the catch basins should be done next week. Or started next week, they won't be done. We, as an aside to that, but not necessarily part of the story, we already had an initiative going and a quote to clean all of our catch basins and our mited end sections on I think, a 3 or 4 year cycle, which I'm getting ready to bring to this group, and so we can allocate those monies each year. We have budget for it, we can handle it, but we weren't quite there. This accelerated that process a little bit. But, so obviously, the people that are affected by the 69,000 won't have it done again for probably 2 or 3 years, but everybody will eventually have it done. I did mention to the board in their last meeting that we wanted a requirement in the turnover package that Lennar has to do that on all of the Cypress Grove community, all the new stuff, before it's conveyed over. I didn't get a response to that one way or the other. I had separately contacted Lennar, both Dave Caldwell and the VP, what's her name, the girl, the woman?
Oh, yeah, Rhonda.
Rhonda Brewer. And all I got was what I typically get. Well, we'll look into that. So they're looking. Relative to aeration, in the community, in the letter, you got in the packet, there's a proposal from CES to repair all of the damage that was done by Irma. It comes to a little less than $6,000. And he's got the quote ahead of time, so here again, we are at least to have a quote before to get approval. We have the money for that, so there shouldn't be any issue with that. The downspout project, that kind of went on hold while we were submerged, and they are back up and running. Since the last time we met the people that were doing Portofino, decided it was a lot more work than they wanted. So they walked away after, I think, 3 or 4 houses.
That doesn't surprise me.
Chris has formally sent them a letter saying that they have to terminate that contract with certain provisions for the district, but that'll be done. And then we'll prorate what we pay them, and then we'll turn that back over to the people that's been doing it through the rest of the community. That's the 3rd or 4th contractor that's walked away. A couple of members of the group were over here yesterday at the district offices, back to the flood, and we were trying to get something called a topo. And as I understand what a topo is, if you had a picture of the community with just the roads, what we want to know is what is the elevation of every road in Pelican at 100-foot increments or whatever. So that when communities are more prone to flooding than others, we'll at least know what the elevations are. So once we get the topo, which is based on paperwork, this is what it's supposed to be, then we are going to hire a survey company to come out and see what it is. If it's low, if it's wrong, I don't know what we can do about it. I can't imagine we're going to raise roads. But we ought to at least have the information, because there's a definite elevation difference between Old Pelican and New Pelican. So we'll be able to explain that to the community. May not like to hear it, but knowledge is knowledge.
If I can interject.
Sure.
Don't the FEMA maps show elevations? Like, we know that.
That I don't know, not specific to the roads.
Well,
FEMA's interested in the dwellings, the homes.
right. So, like, my house would be at 21, say, and mine, I know that
That I don't know.
another neighbor
Not
is at
specific to the
18,
roads.
for instance.
FEMA's interested in the dwellings, the homes.
So you'd have to assume the road goes
Dips.
down.
Well, for my own home, I know what the FEMA map said because they raised my flood insurance. And when I went and had it surveyed individually, I was higher, they reduced my premiums. So I don't know what the relationship is between what they think it is and what it really is. It may not be any variation at all, but I know for me personally, my home was higher than what FEMA thought it was, and I got a better rate. So we're just taking that concept in the roads. Now, we went up in the map room yesterday, and I'm being very generous when I call it a map room and a records room. But anyway, we pulled down some things that looked like George Washington's side. And we were trying to find road elevations. There's everything that you're not looking for, but it's very difficult to find what you want. We did find one map of Matarita 3 that was exactly what we wanted. So that's the map we're now taking to go to RWA, a couple other contractors, and we're going to ask them if they will research and give us those maps to tell us exactly what road elevation. We probably won't get there. So then the next choice would be to commission Tetra Tech to do it for us. I don't know what that's going to cost yet, but it's probably where we're going to go, because I think it would have value to the community. I think the people want to know where they stand.
But to what end? I mean, what would we be able to do?
Just understanding, that's all. If Portofino floods every time, could it be because they're at 11 foot and everybody else is at 13 feet? You know, I don't know what can be done with the information, but at least you'll have the information. Just understand, that's all. For every street, because could it be because they're at 11 foot and everybody else is at 13 feet? Well, that's the actual, the surveyor does. We want to know what it was built for, and that's what we don't know. Okay, fish stocking. They just completed the grates, and I would encourage you to go out to Pareto, and whatever that big boulevard is. You'll see on the side of the road, right-hand side, you'll notice a big structure coming up above the water. And if you go look at it, our fish grate is in there. It kind of encapsulates. It's kind of neat looking. But you can go and look at that sucker and you'll see what these fish grates are. Yeah, it's the Pareto control structure, and it's on the extreme left-hand side as you're going out the boulevard. It's on our side, but it's on Pareto Boulevard. And you just do a U-ey at the Loopy and park, and it's sitting right there on the right-hand side of the road. But it's kind of neat. And so that was just completed, so now we've ordered fish. We have historically put in the sterile carp to control with the grasses, and that ain't doing squat, but we're still doing it. And we're putting some game fish in this time. It's not very much money, about $2,000, but we're starting down the game fish program.
Sterile carp.
The sterile carp is there to keep the pond clean and to keep the grasses down.
But if it doesn't do that,
Well, if you've looked at the grasses, we either don't have enough carp or they don't like our grass. 'Cause we got a lot of grass.
And isn't that the reason for the gates, is to keep the sterile carp in there?
Yeah.
yeah.
And we have giant carp. I mean, they're,
Well, I haven't seen them, but I'll take it, but they must be the laziest damn carp in the world, because they ain't eating much fish. But we got a lot of grass. You know, they told us to do this and it would work, well, we did it and it ain't working, but we'll keep at it. Right now, I'm not sure how much of the problem is related to Irma and how much of the problem was related to our pond maintenance supplier. As you know, we changed last January. I thought we were saving a lot of money. It was false savings. We have got algae everywhere. And we got scum everywhere, and hydrilla and Lanophila. Anyway, we fired this guy, got rid of him. We got the old people back, and they looked at it, and oh my God. So we got a price from them. And did I forward that one to you, Chris? I don't know how much money Aquagenics wants to treat everything. It might be $20,000 or something. And over 2 months, they'll get everything back in control. We're still ahead in terms of what we would have paid them and never had the mess versus what we did pay but had the mess. But I won't ever go through that again. That was a disaster. And last but not least, the aeration work, not repair work, but the new aeration, has been awarded, as I said the last time, to TSI. They now have all their permits. So I just need the word from Marsh Riley, who's going to manage the installation process, what the kickoff date is, and when they're going to start. And the important thing for our group is that when lessons learned from the last time is we meet with the HOAs, we walk out with all interested parties, here's where we're going to put the box, do you like it, do you love it, do you hate it, and we'll go from there.
Neighborhoods or which ponds?
Well, it's, generically, it's everything but, lessons learned from the last time is we meet with the HOAs, we walk out with all interested parties. Okay, let me do it the other way. The 3 ponds around the town center were not done the first time. Pond 23, I think it is, back behind Portofino, was missed for no reason, other we missed it. There's a pond behind Tiberio, I think it's pond 30, next to the flowway, that's the one that joined the flowway. That was missed, not because we meant to, we just missed it. Pond 38, which is behind Viadana, and pond 39, which is behind Palazzo. So there are all the ponds in Old Pelican that weren't done the first time. They'll all be done this time, plus 35, which is by Solaro, 36 is between Solaro and Matarita, 37 is the first part of Carina, so they're all going to have installations, and they did not before. And then there's 4 ponds in the Matarita 2, Matarita 3 complex that have aeration provided by WCI, but it's not up to our standards, so those will all be retrofitted to bring them up to speed. And our total cost for that is under $300,000. What a deal. That's all I got.
A couple of questions.
Yep.
The amounts that you're spending, $1,100 for Sweeper Man, and then you mentioned another $6,000, what was that for?
Aeration repairs,
Aeration repairs.
yes, due to the storm.
Do we need,
No, we don't need any special. Oh, well, I'm going to submit it to Chris because it's Irma damage. But we
Right.
have funding internally to handle it.
okay, so you don't need approval from us to
No.
do that?
I don't think so. I guess I ought to ask for it, but I don't need approval from
From the board?
the board for the money. We got the money, but I guess I'll make a motion that PPAC approve them, yes. Should have done that.
Yeah.
So I'll make a motion that PPAC approve $1,100, not to exceed $1,500 for Sweeper Man to clean the streets.
and
Let's bid on that, and then we'll do the
Okay.
other.
We have a second to that? Second. All in favor? Aye.
Okay. Secondly, we allocate $7,000 to repair our aeration equipment as a result of Hurricane Irma, and a specific amount of $5,747. So I'll make a motion that we allocate that to CES, Community Environmental Services.
Moved and seconded, any discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
And I,
one question on that.
Sure. as a
Is
result
that
of
gonna be
hurricane.
run through the insurance company?
Specific amount of $5,747.
We'll try. If it's hurricane damage related and it's due to the flood, we'll
Yeah, I wasn't doing that, but we
put it
definitely
out.
should.
I think we should,
Absolutely, go for everything.
yeah, go for it all.
And the same thing with the 69,000 that we had the board already approved, and I would like to run that. I don't think I brought it here, did I? Did we vote on
Yes,
this
we,
last
oh, yeah,
time?
we voted on
Last
it.
Okay.
meeting.
We passed
Okay,
it. We
so
passed
that's
it
another
last week.
69,000 that we should get,
Yeah.
money for doing that. Absolutely, go for everything. Okay? And the same thing with the 69,000.
Question, I guess this is of either Chris or Bob. Chris, you're bringing an item, the Monticello Drainage Lake 12
That's another
change order,
69,000.
Pelican Preserve. And it's a change order in the amount of $34,350.
No, no, it's much less than that. The total project is 34. The change is like 2,700, 3,700, something like that. He structures things in a goofy way. But if you look at the bill, it'll tell you what the original was. Let's just say it was 33,000. And then he's got a little change order, and that brings the new price to 37. And all we did there was when he was doing the work, one home we didn't cover, and we wanted to cover it. And then a couple other, he didn't put the center drains in that we're requiring everywhere. So we told him we definitely wanted that, so we changed it. It's less than a 10% change.
But the original
did there was when he was
work was approved.
Yes.
I take it.
Yes. So I consider these to be minor changes, and they've happened on every project we've done.
Yeah, but the
Except that,
34,000.
yeah, it's not a $34,000 change.
Yeah, okay.
It's much less than that. I saw the same thing. Yes, yes.
Any other questions of Bob?
Consider these to be minor changes. Okay, I had the one other thing, the golf cart repair for me.
Oh, yeah.
You're familiar with, I'd like to step out while you discuss that, and then I'll come back and see whether it's appropriate to go forward. I can live with anything.
And
If you can advocate on my behalf, at least you know what,
remind me again.
okay, I used my golf cart in the
How much-
storm.
No.
Oh, I don't remember. $512, something like that. 412. Chris, do you remember what the dollar
Yeah,
amount was?
okay.
538.
It's not earth shattering, but if you can advocate on my behalf, at least you know what.
Remind me again.
Okay, I used my golf cart in the storm. Oh, I don't remember. 500, you're familiar with that. Chris, do you remember what the dollar amount was?
Going for a ride.
It's not earth shattering.
Bob went out during the storm in his golf cart to survey what was going on. Not unlike some of the efforts that Carol and Terry put forth.
Somebody had a pickup truck that drove over it.
Yeah, right.
One of our neighbors got off.
He didn't have that, went out in his golf cart, it turns out that there was damage done to the golf cart. And it was 500 and some odd bucks. I'm of the opinion that we ought to reimburse him. Chris has told him that it's not appropriate. Well, he says, number one, we shouldn't have been using a golf cart, and number two, he didn't get CDD okay to do this. He wasn't asked to do it, he just did it. And,
In order to take photos for Chris.
well, that could
Probably.
be, and I think Bob, along with Carol and Terry, did a real service to the community while this thing was going on, getting out there and finding out what was going on. So I am advocating for him that I think we ought to reimburse him.
And I think the community would support it.
I agree.
No issue whatsoever. Does it have to go to the CDD itself to get approval? It's $500 or whatever the heck it is?
Hope not.
'Cause
I guess we have to think about where we would charge it to, what account it would come out of,
ponds,
funds.
sure, pay
Yeah.
for it. I mean, he's got the money.
And my feeling on it, it was a silly thing to do, but I would be in favor of.
Yeah, as a separate discussion, not necessarily now, but in the future, with those kinds of events that will reoccur, what should he do?
Yeah.
Because
What do we want him to do or not do?
We would never take our golf cart out.
Well,
No,
I don't
that
know
kind
what
of
his
water.
street looked like, but,
As a
ours had water up to my knees.
Yeah, you wouldn't take a golf cart.
I wouldn't take the golf cart off my driveway.
Yeah,
But I don't think, I don't know what he did, I wasn't here.
right.
Probably didn't drive in the street with the water, he probably tried to drive on land,
Yeah.
ended up getting water splashed on it.
whatever.
Well,
You know, I don't,
Whatever.
I'm in approval. I have no
Yes,
problem.
I,
But
no
don't
argument
think-
with that
Okay.
whatsoever.
I don't know what he did. I
All
wasn't
right,
here.
so it's the consensus of the board.
Probably
that
didn't
we
drive in the
approve it.
street with the
We'll
water.
have
He
to find
probably
out
tried to drive on
legalities
land.
are.
And
Sarah, could you
water splashed on.
tell Bob to come back in?
I don't.
Tell him to bring his checkbook.
Ask the community for a donation, that should be the whole.
Well, yeah, that's,
The consensus of the committee is that you should be reimbursed for your expenses,
not to exceed.
not to exceed $600.
I can get a kazooka horn and everything.
about 380.
Well, it's already been done, the repair's been done, so, okay.
The next time, get a drone.
Consensus of the
Okay,
Like the way you're thinking.
That would be good, you could just direct it all over the.
and I guess that'll be a motion to the board or something, I don't know how you do, I don't know what that's
If
happened.
we want that done,
Well, it's already
you
been
can just
done.
go
The
ahead
repair's
and
been done.
do it, can't you?
Can't you? So should we just need a motion, is that it?
Yep, that's fine.
Okay.
Made and approved.
Well, we haven't actually had formal
I
motion.
move that
And
we
I guess that'll be a
reimburse Bob
motion to
for
the board or
the
something. I don't know how you do
repair
that.
of this golf cart. during
Second.
that.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Approved,
The last item, and I promise this is the
without
last.
Mr. Geppert.
Well, I went out to the,
Abstention.
yeah, I went out to the Viadana building. This is the one building that received water from a pond. Didn't come from the road, it came from the pond. And when I wrote my letter, my stormwater letter, I should have been more specific that we didn't have any water from the roads coming in homes. But be that as it may. We went out there yesterday with Tetra Tech, 3 members of the ponds work group. And in looking, we were looking for the remedy, but we had Tetra Tech with us. And the observation was that when we looked at the first home next to the golf cart path that flooded, and then looked at the second home or second building, there was at least, to my eyesight, an 18-inch difference in the level of those pads. They're significantly different. So what we're going to ask Tetra Tech to do is to get a surveyor out there and, as Chris has said, get a benchmark data and measure those 2 buildings and then see where they should have been. We're going to fix the problem with the leak, but there might be a much greater problem for the building owners.
I think there is, when I was on the board at Viadana, I tried to get the people in that building to deal with that problem then, because they were, this is 3 years ago, we already had water coming in on the knives, and they did not pursue it.
So somehow we need to understand
They need to do something.
what it is and what should it have been.
It runs down from the T.
Yeah, everything comes down to them.
Is there anything that could be done about it? I mean,
Short term,
Yeah.
we can dam up the pond better,
mhm,
berm up the pond, and we will do that,
right.
because we actually had a low spot. But taking that particular issue aside, if it ever breaches there, they're gonna get wet no matter what happens, because they're just low. I don't know what else can be done besides that.
Yeah,
So it's not that the pond was too high, it's the house is too low.
Well, it's both things. It was really, it's both things.
Yeah.
But the pond was too high, and it impacted all the other buildings, but not to the extent that it impacted this building. This was the only building in which water got into the home.
And it does,
So
it
it's
just
not that
comes
the
right
pond
down,
was
it's
too high,
like
it's
a
the house
sheet
is too
coming
low.
down.
Well, it's both things. It was really, it's both things. But
Because
it's an
we
issue.
could put some kind of drain in there between the golf course and the house that the water could go somewhere.
I'm not saying they couldn't put a pump system in or something like that, but you gotta remember, everything we drain goes right back in the pond, and it comes right back over. You know, it's just a big loop.
It's not like it's going to someplace else.
So we've been dealing with both homeowners, and they've been very, very kind and understand the issue. But it's not gonna be a quick fix, and
Well,
it's
it
not a
sounds like
ponds
it's
issue.
not a new issue to them.
It's not to them, that's right. But right now, Ponds is trying to help our residents, so.
I have a question
So
before we go on
Sure,
ponds.
yeah.
And it's something I raised to Bob, right after,
Not gonna be a quick fix, and it's not a ponds.
probably, I'm not sure whether it was
Not to
after
them,
the
that's right.
the torrential rains when we had flooding or right after Irma, but, we've put a lot of effort into keeping our pipes clean and so we're holding the maximum, we're definitely holding as much water as we should be because everything's clean. And my concern was, we get water that's coming down the flowway from here, and have the ponds here been, any of them been dredged? I mean, we've got aerators in and so forth to try to keep the silt from building up and cleaning pipes. Has that kind of work gone on here? Is Gateway holding as much water as they could hold?
I think the only way you know that would be to have some current bathymetrics, which they have on some of the ponds. They haven't dredged any of the ponds. They have active, aerators in the ponds. But you would have to go in there and look at the original design.
Well, I'm thinking, we've had to do it and be very active about doing it. And we have actually dredged a couple of places. And Gateway's a heck of a lot older than Pelican. And if it's never been done, I have to believe that some of the problems we had with dirt and having to dredge and so forth, that Gateway can't possibly be holding as much water as originally the plan called for.
You have to.
Is that, Bob, is that one of the things that you'll be looking at with?
We're actually looking at everything. And that, I guess I'm going to, globally, yes, that's one of the things. We're looking at, can we get adjustable weirs? And I'm talking about the Tinkle in the district. I don't know that anyone's asked what the bathymetrics are on their ponds or how much silt they have or how close you are to, the needing dredging. Usually dredging comes back because the pond dies. It starts to stink and stuff. That's usually the stimulus.
But the question of whether they are
volume of water,
maxing their volume of water.
I don't know. I don't have any idea. And I don't know that we've asked that. I don't even know if that's true in Pelican, with all the work we've done. I really don't know if we're holding the amount of water we should be holding.
When you,
Especially some of the voice come from the airport.
Volume of water,
They were talking about a lot of water comes from the airport.
And I don't know if we've asked that. I don't even know if that's true in Pelican.
well, it was going in.
Weir that's higher in the airport to force the water this way than the other way.
What it was, there's some piping that goes under Daniels that was put in years ago, and the airport property was a little higher, so instead of just draining Daniels, that water from the airport property was dumping into the ditch on Daniels and coming across. And I was out there the day after the hurricane, and that's one thing we're investigating, and why those pipes were put in the way they were. But that was coming all in around Worthington and into that wetland down there.
But that wouldn't have come over to Pelican.
No, that was really all held there, but it slowed the system down really north, like up in Stony Brook and that, from draining on that side.
Yeah, we're putting, the district's putting divers in the water under tree line at both the elementary school and behind Goodwill to make sure that those things are open. And they're going over to I-75 to make sure that all that's open.
And we're waiting to the water levels drop
Drops
some,
down enough.
but all the 64-inch culverts and over in the flowway, we're investigating those to make sure there's not a sandbar. And as we look at some of these structures and survey it, also start putting in staff gauges, and the one where the letters are all faded and you can't read them, and recording that data, because again, without data, it's just an opinion. So we're trying to collect some of that information.
Yeah, we did find that the weir ahead of tree line is not as wide as it should be. It's supposed to be 25 feet, it's only 20. There is no adjustability to it right now, it's concrete. We're going to try and pursue, can we get that to be adjustable? So when we know the storm's coming, a week before, we can really evacuate, the water out of our ponds. I don't know how much fruit we'll get from any of these things. All of them are being looked at.
Now, what was this project you had
Okay.
going that never
We
came
had,
to fruition?
we had a pump company, you're not listening to this, we had a pump company come in, and we were gonna put two 30-inch pumps, where the orifice is 30 inches, they're big pumps, diesel, big jobbies, in the Tiberio neighborhood. And we were gonna put the suction end in pond 30, and then pump it out past the weir, directly into tree line. That's what the objective was. The capacity, had that worked, would have dropped all of our ponds 12 inches every 24 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a significant. So, this was one of those deals where you ask for permission later and you ask for forgiveness. And we were trying to do anything. We almost pulled that off. We'd had another day, we'd have got it. Of course, it'd all be going to jail, but we, based on what we learned then, we may yet decide to put in some permanent infrastructure that if we ever wanted to do it again, we would have a path to how to do it. Because the problem wasn't getting the pumps, we had the pumps. And it wasn't a problem with people, we had the people. We just weren't sure we could protect the equipment on the ground, we were afraid to get washed away. because it's pretty heavy equipment, and they had to provide fuel to them. But it's not a dead issue. We'll see if, this is one of the many, many things we're looking at trying to do. But if you can drop all the ponds a foot a day, that's pretty good.
Chris, was there, the question came up, was there a lot of flooding in Gateway?
It's not a dead issue.
Depends what area you were in. Especially around Cypress K, Magnolia.
But if you could drop all the ponds a foot a day.
Stony
Other
Brook
side of
got, Stony
Griffin.
Brook got a lot of press.
Well, Stony Brook, people couldn't get out to go to work. There was 2-3 feet of standing water in the roads. Magnolia, 2 or 3 feet. In Cypress K, they had a couple guys with swamp buggies that were taking people back and forth, and they were parked out on Griffin. Now, none of the homes got flooded because of the pads being up. And what happens is the ponds flow up, and then you're talking about storage. Well, anything that they didn't have in the pond was stored in the roads, believe me.
Well, I mean, we had ponds breach,
Yeah.
so it saved, that's part of, I guess, our system, but that saved an awful lot of the homes from getting water. There were a lot of homes that, where it was close.
Oh, very close.
Very
Sandbags in
close.
the driveway.
I was out with Bob
Oh, yeah.
afterwards, and we were riding around, and I told him when the water got up to the floorboards, I was turning around. But same thing, where the ponds breached, and, in some of those neighborhoods.
But
it
you
was
guys did
scary.
lower your weirs a little bit for a couple of days, didn't you?
We lowered them for a couple days and dropped it about 6 inches on this end, and we didn't leave them open because it takes about 2 more days for everything to get down to Pelican. So we shut them, so there was 3 days before the storm, so Pelican could be evacuated. So
But
that's-
they were able, their weirs were adjustable. I don't even know if they got permission to do it, you just did it, but
The Water Management District.
they had more
Permission to.
flexibility to it than we did. Ours were all concrete and hard.
But they were open full for 2 days, and in some cases, when the rain got hot, it didn't matter because the water was going over the hitch.
Yeah, we had that. Karina was over the weir.
Yeah, but that's why we shut them. And I said, look, it dropped 6 inches 2 days, but we need 2 more days so it clears the flowway on the south end. Otherwise, we would just be stacking the water up down there. And we weren't gonna let
Yeah,
that
2 years
happen.
ago, the flowway was bone dry.
But
Absolutely dry,
that's why
but
we
they
shut
shut
them.
no
And I
water
said, look, it dropped
in
6
area.
inches 2 days. but
We had a
need
lot of
days so
water
it clears
changes.
the flowway on the south end. Otherwise,
Okay,
we'll
any
just
more
be
questions of
stacking
Bob?
Water up down there.
Okay, Safety and Security Work Group. As you're all aware, at our last meeting, you voted to go to the board with the recommendation that the Safety and Security Work Group had made about 3 areas: the marking on the bridge on Tree Line, or on Pelican Preserve Boulevard, the markings, new markings around the intersection at Benito and Pelican Preserve Boulevard, and finally the golf cart regulations. But we did it with the proviso that it had to be reviewed by district council. Tony finally got to it. I met with him on Monday. He is now going to send us a memo, but he has some problems with it. So we may be back to you with a new proposal that takes into account, that addresses some of the problems that he has pointed out with the proposal. So that's not going to get to the board for another month or so, but we've been working on it for 88 years, and we just...
Great Wall of China went up.
We're going to
there.
just keep pushing forward. Any questions about that? That's Safety and Security Work Group. Okay, Gateway meeting attendance. John, you're...
I was scheduled for next Thursday, but I don't know enough about the turnover
Okay, well,
to
let's...
address questions. I mean,
I'll be there for the turnover portion.
He'll be over there, and you and I talk about it. Gateway meeting
All right.
attendance. I guess we should.
I was scheduled for
next
Thursday, but
Now, and I
don't
don't, I must admit, I did not bring the schedule with me, and the minutes from the last meeting aren't here. Who was assigned for the second meeting in November? Does anybody have that with them?
I've got the 16th.
You've got the 16th.
Of October or November?
November.
Okay.
Yeah, because we're now covered for October, and I think I have the first meeting in November, which would be the.
And then you got the 16th, okay.
Yeah, I've got the 4th. Okay, should we put a couple people down for December, what days would those be, Ron?
The CDD meetings would be the 7th of December, it's the first Thursday. The second Thursday would be the 21st of December.
Put a couple people down for. Any volunteers? December, what days would those be, Ron?
I can't yet, till my surgery's the 30th, so we'll
Okay.
see after that.
I can,
I'm flying out the 21st, I can't do the 21st.
21st.
I'll jump to 7th,
I could do the 21st again.
You can do the 21st?
and I'll
Okay.
do the 7th.
Bob, you'll do the 7th. All righty. Nothing more on that?
I'd
Committee
be amazed
members?
if they had one on the 21st.
Huh? I would be surprised.
I would be surprised if it's awful close to Christmas.
It is all close. That's what they make. Committee member requests and audience
Yeah,
comments.
I've got something for you guys.
All right.
Okay.
I would be
I'm
surprised.
on the Pelican Reserve Veterans Committee, and one of the things we're working on is
Committee member requests and audience
for,
comments.
on special days, like Memorial Day, Veterans Day, 4th of July, and probably Flag Day. Thinking of lining Pelican Reserve Boulevard with flags. One of the things we're working on. Okay, and we're looking at some proposals for in terms of types of flags, other kinds of things. But it got us to thinking because of the issue with the signs that Lennar put up on Pelican Reserve Boulevard. Do we need to come back to the CDD through you, through us, to ask for permission to do that?
Flags are
Flags in?
normally exempt.
But it got us to thinking
Within-
because of the issue with the
Within the
signs
Pelican community,
Right.
all of our regulations and so forth exempt flags.
Right.
Okay.
I don't know about the CDD property.
Flags are normally. Like, or the HOA,
Put flags.
if somebody wants a flag, the HOA cannot tell them they can't use put one.
Ron, why
Well,
don't
yeah,
you,
but that's-
why don't you check with Tony?
Sure. Okay.
I would guess that.
You could,
should be
you could do it.
exempt.
Yeah, I would
Because
guess
they're,
so.
they're out for a
I
day
just
and
wanted to be sure.
How are you
Yeah.
gonna, how are you gonna pay for the purchase? You solicit donations. I think that's a great
We've got
idea.
our own sources of money. Excuse me.
Veterans. Veterans.
We're not taking it from your ponds, but.
I wanted to
don't
give
worry
it to
about
you.
We
No, actually-
veterans are rich guys.
Actually, Ted Small, if you guys remember, his son is the jazz guy,
Mark, yeah.
Mark.
Oh, yeah.
So he's gonna do another concert. Free, he's not gonna charge.
And the other thing is that WCI has
Actually, Ted Small.
done on the holidays like that, they've at least done the golf course, and they've done is it Benito? They've done, lined that whole area with
Yeah,
flags.
but that's quote unquote, they own that.
WCI has.
CDD doesn't. That's why the question came up.
Ask for forgiveness. As Bob says, ask for
Ask for
forgiveness.
forgiveness after.
I just checked with Tony. to make sure.
Yeah, the flags are there for a day. and
Yeah, yeah,
they're
they could be
Yeah.
there in the morning and gone in the
I
afternoon.
suspect it's not.
I would,
I think that's a great idea.
Huh?
Yeah.
I think that's a great idea.
I agree. As Bob I says. agree.
Maybe just,
You know, we're talking about 1,000 flags. That's like, this is
But
substantial.
still, that's great.
that's great. Yeah, good.
Yeah, yeah, there could be.
Anything else? Any audience comments? No audience
I think
comments?
that's a great idea.
I
I
would,
think that's a great
I
idea.
agree.
Next meeting's November 9th. I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second?
Second.
Moved by Bob, seconded by Ron, all in favor.
never
Aye.
leaves
Meeting is
Never.
adjourned.
Turned at 4:01.
4:01, pretty good.
Ooh, I'm a minute
Almost
late.
made it.
Not bad.
And if you would arrive